I would like to call the Monday, June 14th, 2021 Common Council meeting to order. Clerk Jones, I believe that you have some statements that you would like to share at this time.
Yes. Good evening, members of the public. For audio quality, we will be muting everyone not speaking by default to maintain good audio quality for the council and yourselves. If you would like to speak during the meeting on a specific agenda item, please submit your request in the chat, and directions to do so are in the chat. We ask that you provide your full name and address, as those are required for all speakers at in-person council meetings. If you would like to be called on during the meeting to provide public input, again, please insert the following into the chat. Please insert your full name and your address, and that you would like to speak for or against a specific agenda item. You will then be given 5 minutes to speak. Please be sure to unmute yourself prior to giving your remarks. For citizens that wish to speak during the privilege of the floor, please insert again into the chat, and the council president will call on you during the relevant time for public input. Insert your name and your address. You will then be given 5 minutes to speak. And again, please be sure to unmute yourself prior to giving your remarks.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. I would like to read the statement. Disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. Such speech and/or actions, as well as verbal attacks on any person, may result in the individual, without notice, losing the remaining time in regards to their opportunity to speak. At this time, our invocation will be given by Mr. Michael Jacobs, Southgate Church. I think he's muted.
He's
He's muted.
He's muted.
Hello?
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Father, we pray right now in the name of Jesus, Lord God, for wisdom and for your insight as we touch on so many different areas that matter so much to different people, Father. We pray for peace of mind. We pray for peaceful attitudes as people speak what they have to speak, Lord God, and as we make decisions about how money is supposed to be spent and how to do things in this city. We believe in you to give us wisdom and guidance, Lord God. I pray, Father, that every decision that's made will line up with the well-being of the people of this city. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. At this time, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Davis,
Henry's here.
Councilmember Lee,
Present.
Councilmember Warner,
Here.
Councilmember Wax,
Present.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Here.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Present.
Councilmember Hammond,
Present.
Vice President McBride is excused, President White,
Present.
8 present.
Thank you. We'll now go to the report from the Subcommittee on Minutes. Clerk Jones, will you please read the report from the Subcommittee on Minutes?
Report of Subcommittee on Minutes to the Common Council of the City of South Bend. The subcommittee has inspected the minutes of May 10th, 2021 and May 24th, 2021 and have found them to be correct. Therefore, we recommend the same be approved.
Thank you. Now entertain a motion to accept the report from the Subcommittee on Minutes.
I have a question. That was the last meet, obviously the last meeting that we had. I've never did this before. I've never called in question any type of minutes ever. But there was something that needed to be called in question at our last meeting. We're gonna have to review what was actually talked about, and it could have been a meeting before. That's what I'm asking. With the changes in the ordinance for the MWBE,
Mhm.
and there were some questions about quarterly reports or no quarterly reports, how we voted that in, or did we vote that in? There was some discrepancies there.
I think we can probably, Councilmember Davis, bring that up uh, under what, new business, or, because that was what we passed at our last council meeting, minutes.
Unfinished business,
and a new business.
new business
New
or
business.
unfinished.
Or unfinished business.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have, we'll now entertain a motion to accept the subcommittee reports on minutes, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion that's been seconded. All council members who are in favor that we accept the report from the subcommittee on minutes, may I hear your vote?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. There is no special business, nor do we have reports from city offices. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to resolve into the committee of the whole.
So move.
We have a motion, has it been seconded?
Second.
We have a motion, has been seconded. All council members who are in favor of the motion may hear your vote.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries.
The Committee of the Whole is now in session. This is the portion of the council's meeting where bills are given a second reading and public hearing. I wish to share with you that the bills that will be given a second reading and public hearing have given a first reading and set for committee meeting and public hearing prior to this evening's meeting. In addition, you will hear from the chairperson of the committee where the bill was discussed and the results of their discussion. If the proposed ordinance is a zoning ordinance, a report from a staff member will be given. In all other situations, the formal presentation on the proposed ordinance will immediately follow the committee report. The formal presentation shall be untimed. And this evening, we're going to start with Bill 8821. Clerk Jones, will you please give Bill 8821?
8821, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 601 and 605 North Eddy Street.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, there is, Chair. Bill 8821 came before the Zoning and Annexation Committee and comes to you with no recommendations due to a lack of quorum.
Okay, thank you. And I believe Mr. Molnar and the petitioner are present. If you'd state your name and address for the committee or for the council and give us the key points of the bill that's before us.
Yes, thank you, Council. Joe Molnar, zoning specialist, offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. I know Council has seen presentation a number of times, so I'll go pretty quick over it. The property located today regarding the bill before you is at 601 Eddy Street at the corner of Eddy and Soren, containing two parcels that are both zoned neighborhood center. They're zoned neighborhood center, and under the neighborhood center zoning district, if you want to do liquor store and if you want to do tobacco sales or sales, that requires a special. Here is what the site currently is today. It is this property here as well as this property here, both combined in the petition. Here is looking across from Eddy Street at the corner at the two properties, and here is from Soren looking at that most southern property. This was what was submitted to staff as the site plan for this proposal. As you can see, it's demolishing both buildings on site and building new. And the use, again, requested as a special exception for both tobacco sales and liquor sales. And it comes to you with a favorable recommendation from the Board of Zoning Appeals, who met early last month and made the recommendation to council. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Is the petitioner present?
Yes, ma'am. This is John Tiffany, 706 North Eddy, South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you. Do you have anything you would like to?
We're trying to move a liquor license and a liquor store from down in East Race, and we want to build a new building and put it in a new location, a new property, and we feel that this is a good area. It's an up and coming area. It's a commercial area. It's a main thoroughfare. And we've put together a site plan and a project that meets all of the requirements of zoning. And we feel that we would have a good business here and that we could help the area. I understand the liquor store dilemmas, but we're willing to, if there's certain physical characteristics of the building that you guys would like to see, we're willing to listen to them and abide by those if need be. And we already have with the zoning requirements. So, and we did add another unit, or we took that building and we cut it in half if that's what people want, because the last hearing we had, we heard people wanted a location that could be 21 and under for like a gas, or like a convenience store or a little grocery store. So we added that because we've heard and we've talked to many neighbors, and that's what they said they'd like to see there. So yes, we're looking forward to this project. We think it's going to be a great addition to the Eddy Street corridor.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything else to add before I move to the council?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council members, do you have any questions of the petitioner?
No, I don't have any.
No? Okay. I do not see anybody with any questions, so at this point we will go to I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. We're going to go to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of Bill 8821?
I don't see anyone from the public expressing interest to speak on this bill.
Is there anyone to speak in favor or against?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, she just raised her hand. Angela Logan. Angela?
Yes. Thank you. My name is Angela Logan. I live at 25821 Sly Fox Court in South Bend, 46628. I've spoken about this several times to the board, so hopefully I'm not just repeating myself, but I think the points are worth bringing to the table again. I am a part of the family that owns the property. I'm kind of representing them today. One of our points are that it came from the Zoning Board of Appeals with a favorable recommendation. We feel that you should agree as well. One of the council members at the last meeting asked how the neighbors felt about this. So since we weren't able to speak at the last meeting because it was tabled, even though we had some people from the neighborhood with us that wanted to talk, we went ahead and got a petition. And I've sent that to each of the council members. I believe I have the right email addresses. The names that are on that petition are 99% from neighbors that live within 5 blocks. I think 36 of the 38 signatures are right there by it. So they are in favor of it and okay with it. The owners specifically asked at the zoning meeting to find out what the plans are for the area, since one of the reasons that we were, the committee or the staff recommended unfavorably to begin with was because it didn't fit into the city's plan. However, we can't seem to get a grasp on what those plans are. And even the owners and even the Board of Appeals committee asked and said that you can't really hold us to a plan if you can't tell us what the plan is. So in a free enterprise system, we should be able to move forward. Now, once once the plans are firmed up, I would understand drawing a line in the sand and then saying what can and can't go there. But until then, it's almost discriminatory, but you could tell who or what you approve. There was, one last point, there was a meeting held with Dan, the city planner, I believe, who was extremely fair and ready to listen, the Tiffany Group and the owners. And then there was a meeting to be scheduled, or was scheduled, with the, I get it wrong, Northeast RO, NERO. That meeting went from being in person to being virtual. No information was sent. The owners wanted to participate as well. We wanted to meet and discuss, and most importantly, I felt it was important that the buyers wanted to compromise and listen and be heard to see if they could do anything to accommodate this. The last point that I do want to make is that right now it's a vacant building, and you have somebody that wants to come in and put $1 million into that corner. And it's kind of hard to believe, with all the things that have gone around in the city about vacant properties, that it almost feels like if you deny this, you're in favor of leaving vacant property instead of letting a investor come in and put some money into that neighborhood. Thank you. We hope you get a fair consideration.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Yes, we have Jordan Geiger. Jordan, if you want to unmute yourself and state your name and your address for the record, please.
No, that was a mistake. My bad.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, Dawn.
Yes.
We have other people with us that would like to speak. We just happen to be on my device. So my name is probably the only one you see. Is there a way they could speak?
Okay, if they would have 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
Can we?
believe so.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, they would just have to come and state their name and their address for the record, and they will be timed 5 minutes.
Okay. Let me hand my device over.
Yes, my name is Sharon Jackson, and I stay at 940 Soren Street. And I have two stakes in this issue. I am a resident, which stay within a block of this area of the building. I am also the homeowner. I have spoken with my neighbors on improving and about this issue, and no one seems to have a problem with it. My thing is, the property has been vacant for years. I mean, we have had people come and that are interested in doing different things with the property, but the Tiffany Group is the only one that showed true concern, and it's been vacant. I mean, we didn't, and it's an eyesore for the neighborhood. They want something. They're anxious to, get something up and going. As long as myself, I mean, I do want to get it sold, but also as a resident, because I mean, it's getting trashed. So that is my concern as a resident and the buyer and the seller. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there
Okay.
another person wishing to speak?
How many more do we have wishing to speak?
Just one more.
Okay, please state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Les Jackson. Address is 25821 Sly Fox Court, South Bend, Indiana, 46628. I am one of the partners in Jackson Transport.
Okay.
And keep talking, you guys.
Yes, you may
hear me?
proceed.
I got a couple points that I would like to make. We've been in that neighborhood for a long time. We went to schools on the east side. We've seen a lot of progress with Notre Dame and some other stuff that have went bad and good. And all we want is a fair share of seeing it grow, do our part. We would like to meet with the NORO group to see how we can be involved with them, to see what are their plans. In contact. I've been over to the old Robertson building. I've been downtown, but no one seems to have a direction on who to meet to be a part of that group. So, and that's why we're here to represent Jackson Transport and the Tiffany Group to find out what exactly do you guys want us to put there, so we would know in the future on how on what to do with this property. We've talked. Said my sister said we talked to numerous of people that's right there. It's going to be impacted by the business, and so far all we heard was good things on what they wanted. Because over in that area, rental property, but we are homeowners ourselves over there. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I believe that exhausts all the people that wanted to speak in favor of Bill 8821. So at this time, is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition?
I do not see anyone from the public that is, we have Bill Stentz, who has raised his hand. Mr. Stentz, if you would unmute yourself and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Bill Stentz. I live at 1020 East Colfax. I'm also the president of the Northeast Neighborhood Council, and I'm a vice president of the Northeast Neighborhood Revitalization Organization. And I'd like to comment on a few things that were said by the petitioners. First of all, there have been many plans over the years, especially concerning Eddy Street. Eddy Street Commons did not occur in a vacuum. For well over 20 years, Eddy Street Commons was created through an effort of not only Notre Dame Kite Development, but also with neighbors. The Northeast Neighborhood Council meets openly and has been since the 60s at the Firehouse on the second Monday of the month at 5:30. We have always met at the Firehouse, except for during this pandemic the past year. We've been on Zoom. But there has been plenty of open meetings for anybody to come and learn about what's going on, especially these plans. I would like to point out a streetscape concepts were done in 2008 by the Lakota Group that specifically earmarks that central section of Eddy Street for expanded residential opportunities, maybe even low-rise or townhome type housing with parking loaded from the back, because everyone knows there's no parking available on Eddy, and it's a very fast road. And with commercial nodes primarily geared at major intersections. Those intersections right now are Madison and to some extent LaSalle and Cedar Street, but not Soren Street. Soren Street is such a narrow street on the exact corner that this proposal is. In the winter time, it's just plowed for one-way traffic. Their concept of using the alley as their only access, and if you look at the site plan, they show it as a 20-foot wide alley. It's only a 14-foot wide alley, so they would have to widen that alley at that particular section. And I'm not really sure how semi-truck traffic or delivery vehicles and that sort of thing can be done except for off hours. And in fact, at the first council meeting, the liquor store owner said that's not a problem because we do all those deliveries at 4 o'clock in the morning, which would wake up customers when the trash truck bangs their dumpsters and that sort of thing. It's just not fair to have all that traffic go through there. Again, also, liquor store. Remember, especially on weekends, is generally open later into the evenings, and all that traffic is going to have to run through Soren Street. If anyone has ever driven on Soren Street, you're almost putting your life in your own hands exiting onto Eddy during busy times of the day. It is extremely dangerous. So all that traffic would be directed towards the side streets of Soren, and in particular across a bicycle path that's on Notre Dame, and all housing. These are side streets, residential side streets. And if you look at all the other mega liquor stores, they are generally on intersections where there are two ways to get in. And there's plenty of opportunity for traffic to slow down at a stoplight so people can pull in and out. There is no opportunity whatsoever for a commercial use here at this corner. It just makes no sense. Also, the owners or the developer has
You
said
do have about 1 minute left, just to let you know.
Okay, thanks. The owner said he could put a bar there. Well, a bar would also require a special use. I mentioned the multiple plans that have been available. I mentioned that the NENC meets monthly open meetings. Anybody can talk to any neighbor and come to these meetings. There has been no time or secretiveness at all about plans in the past. I really think, if this is just a bad idea for a liquor store. If you could just stop the liquor store, it just makes no sense. If they want to put a restaurant there, fine. If they've got there was a hair salon there, fine. But a heavy use of a liquor store.
Sir, your time is up. I'm
especially
sorry.
traffic. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you listening to me.
Thank you.
That exhausts our list.
Okay. Thank you.
Do I get a rebuttal, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
There's another hand.
First of all, we never talked about a bar. I don't know where that came from. That's not the right spot at all. And also, I don't know of any official city plans for this neighborhood. We've asked, and we've been in meetings where they've asked for our input lately. The plans he talks about are simply concepts, and rather old concepts at that. And, taking your life at your own hands, going down that road. Most of those, the people in our petition that signed our petition are the neighbors around there. And, 99% are within several blocks. So we've talked to those people. We have their signatures. And, and as for the alley load, we don't like the alley load. We don't like the 60% of glass frontage and the extra $600,000 the building's going to cost to make it to the code and the city zoning requirements for the overlay district. But we want to be a part of this district. We want to help make this corridor nice. And I'm sorry, I personally own 5 other properties on Eddy Street, and it's not residential. I wouldn't live there. The cars hit trash cans about every week. We have pictures, and trash goes all the way down the road. It's a commercial road. Brad Toothaker mentioned that in the first meeting we had. We weren't asking to do alley load. We were told that was the only way it could happen. And so we made our plans that way. And we're willing to change the plans to work with the neighborhood with whatever they want. But we would like to put a liquor store there. We think it's a great location for a liquor store. And if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe that now concludes.
There was one more hand up.
Is there another hand up, Clerk Jones?
It's the same guy, Michael. I can't say his last name, but the one that just spoke, he raised his hand
No,
again.
it's a different person. It's a
It's a
different
different,
person.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah,
See.
we have Michael who is expressing interest to speak.
Okay, is Michael speaking
Yeah,
in
can you guys hear me?
opposition or in favor of?
opposition. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
please
we
state
can
your
hear you.
name and address for the record.
Yeah, Michael Papianis, 610 North Eddy. So we're kind of skirting around the issue, but the big thing around a liquor store is the crime issues that go along with it, the littering, things along those lines. You know, the logistics of the street being so small, that's definitely true, and there's issues there as well. But for example, there was a shooting about 1 week ago, maybe 10 days ago, about 3 houses down on Soren, where there's a lot of criminal activity going on, and someone got shot the other day. About 3 weeks ago at the park behind Purley School, there is a shooting with multiple people getting shot there. I mean, everyone knows alcohol can be used responsibly, but a lot of times alcohol leads to criminal activity and all kind of shadiness along those lines. You know, Mr. Tiffany's saying that he didn't have the opportunity to go to the Northeast neighborhood meeting, and maybe there was a technological issue there or a miscommunication there. I'd like at least for him to have the chance to speak with the people in the Northeast neighborhood and say his piece and have people, you know, explain their piece and any questions they have for him. So I think making any decisions before that's able to be done wouldn't do anyone justice in the neighborhood. And I'm not sure what signatures they have, but I know tons of signatures were sent to Troy Warner, all extremely against it. A lot of family people who want just a nice, peaceful, safe neighborhood, which things are kind of trending in the right way. But again, like I mentioned, there's still shootings going on. And, you know, again, criminal activity tends to go hand in hand with alcohol use. Drug sales tend to go hand in hand with alcohol use. And it's just a lot of stuff that I'd like to see less of in that neighborhood. And personally, I'd rather have an eyesore in the neighborhood than to have a criminal enhancement going on. And that's all I've got to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to Bill 8821?
We have Angela Logan, who has her hand up.
I'm not speaking in opposition. I know I spoke before, but this is just in,
Yes, you can't speak.
Okay, you can't speak twice.
well, I mean, the guy that just spoke was saying something directly about.
You can't
rebuttal.
speak twice, Angela.
Can I rebuttal twice?
Can the petitioner speak again?
Okay, I'm sorry. We have had to speak in favor of and opposition to. There was a rebuttal to a question that was asked. There could be no further conversation from either of you at this time. If there is someone else that would like to speak in opposition to Bill 8821, please put your hand up now so the clerk can see it and introduce yourself and state your name and address for the record.
At this time, I do not see any other hands up to speak in opposition of this bill.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. At this point, the public hearing on Bill 8821 is now closed. Okay, council members, do you wish to make any statements regarding the bill that is before us? Councilman Davis?
No, I just want us to recognize the fact that we are governed by a set of rules as it relates to zoning. And I think that the board that sent their recommendation in obviously gives you an advisory opinion. We do have the final say so, but I think that they're the experts in that field. And I think that we need to recognize that. I'm only saying it because of what has happened in the past and what I've experienced. Whether I want to see another liquor store, mini mart, or another Kroger or not. I mean, there are rules that I have to abide by. So that's my statement.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Lee, do you have anything?
This is a very interesting situation because of the the conversation between the community and the owners and the sellers and tough decision. So
Okay. Councilman Warner? Councilwoman Hammond?
Thank you. I would just like to make a statement. When addressing these types of
zoning questions as a council, the areas of the city that are not bound by comprehensive plans put us in a situation where we're trying to think into the future. We're trying to envision an area 5 years from now. It makes it extremely difficult. If I've seen the neighborhood plans, I know that there are plans out there. I would just think that as a governing body, it would make a lot more sense for us to just adopt those neighborhood plans until we can get comprehensive plans together for ourselves. It would be much easier for us as a council to be able to make these types of decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Councilwoman Thomas Morgan?
Thank you, Chair Nitzgotsky. I just want to I just want to clarify for everyone that the decision that is before the council this evening is an exception for the use of a liquor and tobacco store, and whether we feel it is appropriate to this neighborhood. This piece of property does sit in residential area, what is left of residential area, that has been quite distressed. So that's all I need to share right now.
Thank you. Councilman Warner?
Thank you. Yeah, I chime kind of on what Councilwoman Thomas Morgan said. The decision here is a special exception. The reason why the special exception is required is because of it's a liquor store. The state law provides those 4 criteria as is laid out in the bill and in the staff report. I think given that, there's been a lot of discussion whether this is a commercial corridor or things like that, but the fact is, you go out there and there's housing surrounding this spot for 3 blocks each way, and in a 10-block area, it is still 95% residential and housing. I agree with the staff report. That's putting a liquor store in the middle of the residential neighborhood is harmful. This is a neighborhood that has been trending up, and they've been working on revitalizing it. And I think putting a liquor store in the middle of it will be detrimental to that. I've heard from a lot of neighbors, both immediately after the BZA hearing. I heard from neighbors after our first hearing. I heard from neighbors after there was a newspaper article about it. If you go back and look at these 4 criteria, I just don't think it meets the criteria the way the neighborhood is now. In 5 years, the neighborhood may be different, but I have to make a vote based on the state law criteria, based on what sits there right now.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a statement? Okay, if not, I would like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 8821.
Move for favorable recommendation.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Motion dies.
Then the motion has died. So I guess we don't need to take a roll call, just move on to the next bill. You have to.
Still have to come up with a motion.
Okay.
Send it to the full council.
Chair, I would like to make a motion to move Bill 8821 to the full council with with an unfavorable recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there has been a motion and it has been properly seconded. Clerk Jones, I believe we need to call the roll, or do we not need to call the roll?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Nay.
Councilmember Nitzgotsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Nay.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. Bill 8821 will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. I'm sorry, unfavorable recommendation. Okay. We're now going to move on to Bill 9121. Clerk Jones, will you please give Bill 9121 a second reading?
Yes. 9121, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 707 Rex Street.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, Chair. This came before the Zoning and Annexation Committee this afternoon, and due to a lack of quorum, comes before us now with no recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Is there staff and petitioner present?
Yes, thank you, Council. Joe Molnar, zoning specialist with offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. This special exception before you concerns property located at 707 Rex Street. It is currently zoned U1, Urban Neighborhood 1, and the petitioner desires to do 2 dwellings on the site in the form of a duplex. And that needs a special exception in the U1 Urban Neighborhood District. This site is currently located in the NNN. Here is Portage Avenue, and here is the Ward Bakery Building to get some bearings on where we're talking about. This is where this is what the site looks like currently. It's currently a vacant lot that used to have a house that was previously torn down. And here is a concept drawing of what might be a typical duplex with a garage behind, with a possible ADU in that garage, as would be allowed. The staff viewed the recommendation or viewed the report favorably. We believed that adding a duplex on a currently vacant lot should not injure or adversely affect the use of the adjacent area or property values. The addition of the duplex should further the work being done in the neighborhood to provide more residential opportunities to this area. As you can even just see by this aerial, this is a neighborhood that has seen significant decline in population and housing. This would add a little bit back. The proposed construction of the duplex should help the surrounding area, and it also agrees with the comprehensive plan, which states that we should help encourage residential developments to contain a mix of housing types, densities, price ranges, and amenities. This proposed duplex is in line with that recommendation. Therefore, the staff had a favorable recommendation, as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals sends it to you with a favorable recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and I see that the owner of the site is on the call as well.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Molnar. Would the petitioner like to speak? Or the owner of the property?
My name is Mike Keene. I am manager for Hometown Development LLC. We are the owners of this property, along with many other properties in the immediate area there. We've been working for the last 5 years to begin to do infill development, collaborating with Habitat for Humanity to build 5 single-family houses on the North Triangle you're looking at which we actually donated $25,000 discount to the packages for the building of those. We've also rehabbed 3 other structures across the street on Portage there, and you can't quite see it, but right to the left of the Ward building, we just finished 2 tiny houses that we've rebuilt. So what we've been working on and continue to plan to work on is trying to provide and maintain a variety of housing options for both owner-occupied as well as rental units, so that we can continue to maintain the economic diversity that's been characteristic of our neighborhood. And so this particular lot would allow us to do this by being able to put a duplex on the lot. And so that's why we are asking for this special exception.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, council members, do you have any questions? Is there any questions of the petitioner or the staff? Okay, seeing none at this point, we are going to go to the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of Bill 9121?
There is no one from the public expressing interest to speak in favor of Bill 9121.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in opposition of Bill 9121.
Okay, thank you. At this point then, the public hearing on Bill 9121 is now closed. Council members, you wish to make any statements regarding Bill 9121? If not, we could entertain a motion about the bill.
Move for favorable recommendation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Clerk Jones, could you take the roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
President White,
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. Bill 9121 will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Okay, we're now going to move on to Bill 9221. Clerk Jones, will you please give Bill 9221 a second reading?
Yes. 9221, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 2001 West Washington Street.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, this came before zoning and annexation this afternoon, and again, due to a lack of quorum, comes to us today with no recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Is there a staff member present? I think Mr. Molnar and a petitioner?
Yes, thank you, Council. Joe Molnar, zoning specialist, offices on the 14th floor of the County City Building. This next special exception is for property located at 2001 Washington Street on the west side of the city. Here you can see the inlay. It's a very large site. Here's Western and here's Lincoln Way West to give you some of the bearings of where the location is. This has been an industrial site for a very long time currently. The reason that it has to get this special exception for heavy industrial use, even though they already do heavy industrial uses at this site, is because they're going to be expanding into this area here. And anytime they have to expand that use beyond the current compound that they do it, they would need to go get the special exception again, just because it is that heavy industrial use. It needs that extra check by council. This is what the where the site would be currently located. This is looking south onto the property. The expanded portion would be right located right here. The petitioner worked very closely with staff to find a really good location on the site that would minimize the impact to the surrounding neighbors. As you can see, there's already some buffering in place in the form of some fairly large trees that have already grown up that were previously planted. Here is looking from that public alley at the site where it would be located. The staff, and here's looking straight south onto the project. And then here circled in red is what would be expanded. The petitioner can give you a better explanation about what specifically they'll be doing. It's very highly technical. But from a land use perspective, the staff viewed it favorably. The proposed use of heavy industrial is consistent with the character of the district in which it's located. The site has a long-term history as being used for industrial uses. Allowing the special exception will allow for the building to be used in its intended and originally constructed manner. The petition is also consistent with the city plan. One of the objectives of the city plan is to retain existing businesses and recruit new ones. Allowing for this expanded use on the site will help retain a currently existing business in the city. With that, the staff sent it with a favorable recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Board of Zoning Appeals further sends it to you also with a favorable recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, and I do see that there is a representative of the petitioner present.
Okay, would the representative like to state their name and address for the record, and do you have anything to say?
Sure. Mike Huber with Abbott Marsh Consultants, 315 West Jefferson Boulevard in South Bend. And I think staff did a great job of outlining the reason we're here this evening, asking for the special exception to allow us to expand the use. creating this new concrete pad and the expanded services that we're offering, or these expanded area for manufacturing space here. Effectively, what we're doing is this is an area where we're proposing to do some new on-site nitrogen production, and nitrogen is important. It's not flammable, it's actually inert. It's actually used in the fire suppression system, so it's a big part of our safety process here. We'll continue to, I think we currently are bringing and trucking in some nitrogen. We'll continue to do that, but we'll have the ability to have some nitrogen production on site. I don't have all the details of that, but I do know that Dave Rydell from Airgas is on the line as well. He is very much an expert in these things, so that if you have any specific questions about that, he's available to answer those questions. Other than that, I'll keep it brief. Staff did a great job explaining what we're trying to do here, and we're available to answer the questions as best we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any council members that has a question of the petitioner at this time? Councilwoman Tomas Morgan?
Thank you, Chair. This is a question for, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name, the petitioner, Mr. Airgas?
Rydell,
the owner,
Dave Rydell.
Mr. Rydell,
Yeah.
Thank you. Could you just share with us a bit how long you've been on this property? How long you've been in this city, your company?
Yeah, I can't speak to the exact time, but I can say, again, starting off, my name is David Rydell. Can you hear me okay?
Can you, if you could speak a little louder, please?
Sure. Yeah, again, my name is David Rydell. I'm a representative with Airgas. I've been with Airgas for over 15 years. We do have a local store in South Bend, located at 3725 Cleveland Road.
So Mr. Rydell isn't with Royal Adhesives or HB.
Oh, I think he's been muted.
I'm sorry, someone actually muted me by chance. Again, continuing on, yes, so we do have roots there in South Bend, Indiana. And again, I've been with Airgas for 15 years as an expert in cryogenics.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions or from council members or the petitioner? Nope. Okay, at this point, we're going to move to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of Bill 9221?
There is no one wishing to speak in favor of this bill.
Okay, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to Bill 9221?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in opposition of this bill.
Okay, thank you. At this point, the public hearing on Bill 9221 is now closed. Council members, do you wish to make any statements regarding this bill? Seeing none, I'll now entertain a motion regarding Bill 9221.
Move favor recommendation.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk Jones, could you take the roll call, please?
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Lee.
Aye.
Councilmember Warner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wax.
Aye.
Councilmember Niskoski.
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan.
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond.
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you. Bill 9221 will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Clerk Jones, we're going to move on to Bill 9321. Would you please give Bill 9321 a second reading?
Yes. 9321, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 917 Lincoln Way West.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, Chair. Bill number 9321 came before Zoning and Annexation this afternoon, and due to a lack of quorum, comes to you with no recommendation.
Thank you. I see Mr. Molnar, you are here, and is the petitioner present as well?
I believe I saw her name.
Okay, well, if you would like to proceed.
Yeah, I'll start. Hopefully, we can get it on.
Thank you.
Joe Molnar, zoning specialist. Office is located on the 14th floor of the County City Building. This last special exception for this evening is located at 917 Lincoln Way West, just 5 or 6 blocks west of downtown. Here's the South Bend Heritage Building, if that helps you get your bearings. This property is currently zoned UF Urban Neighborhood Flex. In that district, a restaurant is a special exception. So even though this site used to be a restaurant a number of years ago, it is currently not zoned for it. When they came looking to establish a restaurant here, we had to go through the process. As I said, the site used to be a restaurant. It looked like it was type of a walk-up where you grabbed your food and left. Type situation here is the building as it currently stands looking across Lincoln Way. The petitioner has been in contact with the Department of Community Investment on any facade grants that would be eligible because it's on Lincoln Way. The staff looked favorably on the recommendation. The use proposed in the building would be complementary to the area. The site is located along a commercial corridor with a mix of commercial and residential uses. The proposed use is consistent with the character of the UF district and the Lincoln Way West corridor. This petition will also be in compliance with the city plan, which again recommends, like before, that we retain existing businesses and recruit new ones. Allowing a restaurant use on this site will help recruit a new business to the city in an appropriately located area. The staff sent it to the BZA with a favorable recommendation, and the BZA is sending it to you as well with a favorable recommendation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I do see that Ivory is on.
If the petitioner is present, if you'd like to make a statement, please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Ivory Pulliam. My address is 53155 Oakton Drive, South Bend, Indiana, 46635. Well, we plan on opening up a restaurant, a grab and go, where you can get burgers and hot dogs and little foods to grab and go. We plan on giving back to the community as far as like collaborating with different charities, and providing jobs. Yes, that's like our plans for so far.
Okay, is that all you would like to say, or do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Council members, do you have any questions for the petitioner? No? Okay, at this time, we're going to move to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone here to speak in favor of Bill 9321?
There is no one from the public that's expressing interest to speak in favor of Bill 9321.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one from the public that is expressing interest to speak in opposition of Bill 9321.
Okay, at this point then, the public hearing on Bill 9321 is now closed. Council members, do you wish to make any statements regarding this bill? Councilman Lee?
I'd like to say that we're glad to see them taking the initiative to take an abandoned building and do something with it. So.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to make a statement? Councilman Warner?
Yeah, I'd like to thank AIB for investment in the city and wish her the best of luck. And I look forward to going to have lunch.
Oh, thank you.
Councilman Hammond?
I'm just wondering if we have an estimate of the investment that will be made into the upgrade in the lot and that type of thing.
Can I answer? Hello?
Ivory, did you hear the question, Councilman?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, actually, we applied for the grant, and I guess they're going to meet us halfway. We just have to go out and get some estimates. But my first thing, I was just trying to make sure that it would be approved to be a restaurant first before I moved any further. So like after I like get approval, then I'll go keep investigating and see how much everything is, and yeah, go from there.
Okay, understood. I too would like to thank you for your investment in the city.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Is there any other council members that would like to make a statement? If not, I'd like to now entertain a motion regarding Bill 9321.
Move for favorable recommendation.
Second.
The bill's been moved and seconded. Clerk Jones, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White. Aye. 8 ayes.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. Bill 9321 will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to move on now to Bill 9521. Clerk Jones, could you please give Bill 9521 a second reading?
Yes. 9521, public hearing on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, to vacate the following described property. First east-west alley north of St. Vincent Street on the west side of Lawrence Street, running west from Lawrence Street, a distance of 159.37 feet plus or minus, to its termination at a north-south public alley, South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you. There was a committee report out of Public Works and Property Vacation, which I chair, and that came out of that committee with a favorable recommendation. So at this point, is the petitioner present? I ask you to
Yes.
state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Mike Danch from Danch Harner and Associates, 1643 Caramus Drive, here in South Bend, representing the petitioners. And what we're asking for, as we had mentioned in the committee meeting, is to vacate a east-west alley. It's the first one north of St. Vincent on the west side of Lawrence Street. The petitioners in this case actually own the property on either side of the request for the vacated alley. If you take a look at this particular alley, it has not been used for past several decades. It's actually been wooded, and that's the state that it's in right now. There are no utilities running in there that I could see. And so it's not being used by the public right now to access any properties. The owners on either side of the property would like to build new homes on the site, but they would like to vacate this alley so that they don't have an alley potentially 5 feet off the edge of their houses. We had gone through the Board of Works. The Board of Works recommended approval for the vacation of this. They did not see any problems with the vacation of this from a planning standpoint or from a traffic standpoint in this part of the neighborhood. So what we're asking council to do is approve that vacation so that that alley can be officially closed, and potentially we'll have 2 new homes in this neighborhood. If you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Is the petitioner present? Did they have anything they would like to say, he or she?
No, I'm representing them.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
No,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Is there, council members, do you have any questions of the petitioner? Okay, I do not see any questions from the council members. At this point, we're going to move to the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of Bill 9521?
There is no one expressing interest to speak in favor of Bill 9521.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to Bill 9521?
There is no one expressing interest to speak in opposition of Bill 9521.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we are going to close the public hearing on Bill 9521. Council members, do you wish to make any statements regarding this bill?
Move for favorable recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk Jones, could you please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. Bill 9521 will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Danch.
Thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to rise from the committee of the whole and report back to the full council.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. President White.
The full council is now back in session. This is the portion of our meeting where bills are given a third reading and action is taken regarding bills that were heard during the committee of the whole. Clerk Jones, would you please give Bill 88-21 a third reading?
8821, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 601 and 605 North Eddy Street.
Thank you. Councilwoman Niskoski, is there a recommendation for this bill from the committee of the whole?
Yes, President White. Bill 8821 was sent to the full council with an unfavorable recommendation.
I'll now entertain a motion regarding Bill 88-71.
I make a motion to deny the special exception proposed by Bill 88-21.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
No.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
President White,
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. Clerk Jones, will you please give Bill 91-21 a third reading?
9121, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 707 Rex Street.
Thank you. Is there a recommendation for this bill from the committee of the whole?
Yes, President White. Bill 9121 was sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
I would now like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 91-21.
I move to approve Bill 9121.
Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White,
Aye.
8 ayes.
Clerk Jones, will you please give Bill 92-21 a third reading?
Yes. (9221), third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 2001 West Washington Street.
Councilwoman Niskoski, is there a recommendation from the committee of the whole regarding Bill 92-21?
Yes, President White. Bill 9221 was sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
I will now entertain a motion regarding Bill 92-21.
Move to approve Bill 9221.
Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you. Bill 92-21 has passed. Clerk Jones, will you please give Bill 93-21?
9321, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, approving a petition of the Advisory Board of Zoning Appeals for the property located at 917 Lincoln Way West.
Councilwoman Niskoski, is there a recommendation from the committee of the whole regarding Bill 93-21?
Yes, there is, President White. Bill 9321 was sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion regarding Bill 93-21.
I'd like to move that we approve Bill 9321.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you. Bill 93-21 has passed. Clerk Jones, will you please give Bill 95-21 a third reading?
9521, third reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, to vacate the following described property. First east-west alley north of St. Vincent Street on the west side of Lawrence Street, running west from Lawrence Street, a distance of 159.37 feet plus or minus, to its termination at a north-south public alley, South Bend, Indiana.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nisgowsky, is there a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole regarding Bill 95-21?
Yes, there is, President White. Bill 9521 was sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
I'll now entertain a motion.
I move to approve Bill 95-21.
Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Bill 95-21 has passed. We'll now enter into the resolution portion of our meeting. This is the portion of the council meeting where the Common Council will hear bills filed as proposed resolutions. The title of each proposed resolution is read by the city clerk. A report from the committee chairperson of the standing committee to which the bill was referred to for an advisory review and recommendation is then given. During the public hearing portion on each proposed resolution, members of the public will be invited to address the council. We ask that you please give your name, address, and comments on the bill. If you have any questions, they will be addressed by the presenter during their rebuttal. Each member of the public is limited to 5 minutes, with those speaking in favor going first, followed by those in opposition. And then again, if there are any questions, then the presenter will have a 5-minute rebuttal. At this time, Clerk Jones, will you please read Resolution 21-26?
2126, a resolution confirming the adoption of a declaratory resolution designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 906 through 910 Portage Avenue and 736 California Avenue, South Bend, Indiana, 46616, as an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 4-year real property tax abatement for the Bakery Group, LLC.
Thank you. As this is a confirming resolution, and so that we will have no need to have a report from standing committee, at this time, we ask that the presenter as well as the staff give a brief overview of the confirming resolution. And we'll start with Mr. Dan Buckemeyer from Community Investment. We do ask that you state your name and your address for the record.
Thank you. Dan Buckenmeyer, Director of Business Development, offices on the 14th floor of this building. If it pleases the council, I'll present for 2126 and 2128 concurrently as they're for the same petitioner, and allow you to
I need to ask.
vote separately if that works out.
I think that we would need to entertain a motion to hear all three of the resolutions, 21, 26, 21, 28, and 2130 together for purposes of the public hearing, and then we would need to vote separately.
It's only 2126 and 2128 for these.
Okay, it's 21, 26, 21, 28.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion has been seconded. I don't believe I need to do roll call.
No.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So this is for the Ward Building up on Portage Avenue. long vacant building. We have a great group of folks here, led by Mr. Mike Keene, Greg Kill, local architect, and also Monty Anderson, who is well known now as the proctor or evangelist of incremental development here in town and abroad. So they are contemplating a $3.7 million private investment into this 56,000 square foot building. It's notable that it was in tax arrears, so this is really doubling down, coming back to life on a property that wasn't only vacant but had tax arrears, and now will be reactivated into the tax rolls. They're looking at 60 retail and community units. Now we are combining two types of tax abatements here, as we do with buildings that have been vacant for a few years or more in this case. We are doing recommending a vacant building tax abatement. That is a 2-year abatement that freezes all the taxes on it and gives them an opportunity to revitalize and ramp up. And as you can see from the pictures, there is a lot to revitalize and a lot to ramp up. And then we combine that with the real property tax abatement, which they qualified for 4 years. So the combination will give them a good benefit that allows them to invest in the building, make that significant investment in this building, which we think is really going to be transformational to the neighborhood. So I'll stop there and allow Mr. Mike Keene to jump in and share anything else that he'd like to.
Thank you.
Mike, you're muted, Mike.
Yeah, my name is Mike Keene. I'm president of the Bakery Group LLC, and I live at 1012 Riverside Drive, South Bend, Indiana 46616. This is part of some of the ongoing development work I've been doing with Hometown Development LLC. This is a second LLC we formed to focus specifically on this building. For the last 5 years, I've been working with my partners on helping to do infill and some renovation of vacant lots and local properties that are all contiguous to the bakery. The bakery has been the big elephant in the room. We have been hoping that the near Northwest neighborhood would be able to get a tax credit grant that would have allowed them to be able to turn this into affordable housing or workforce housing, but they were never able quite to get there. And after they were unable to do it the sixth time 2 years ago, my partners and I came up with a plan that would allow us to do this without that kind of a tax credit group. And so now what we are doing is we're in the process of wanting to take this building, bring it back to life, and make it, turn it from a attractive nuisance that's been driving down property values in the neighborhood for the last 12 years to a neighborhood attraction that will help to be an anchor for both our residential as well as reestablishment of the commercial node at this location. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Anderson, is he going to make any comments? Is he with us?
He couldn't be with us tonight.
Okay.
He's in Tucson,
Okay.
I believe, doing a class.
Council members, do you have any questions at this time regarding Resolution 2126 as well as 2128? Any questions? Councilman Lee, you have a question regarding the resolutions?
No question. I have a statement.
Okay, see that there are no questions. We go to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Resolution 2128 as well as 2126?
Yes, we have Jordan Geiger, who has his hand up. Jordan, if you would unmute yourself and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yeah, Jordan Geiger, 424 South Michigan Street. Yeah, that's all I had to say, right? I just wanted to speak, in favor of this project. I've kind of been following it in the media and have, had conversations with folks who've toured the building with Mike Keene. And I think it seems to be a really promising project that can spur some greater economic activity in the area. And I was just kind of curious, like if there were any plans to, what your plans are to work with small minority-owned businesses, and also to use or contract with minority firms around rehabbing or refurbishing the property.
Thank you, Mr. Geiger. And when we complete the public hearing portion, then we'll go back to Mr. King to address that question for you. Clerk Jones, is there anyone else present wishing to speak in support of Resolution 2126, 2128?
There is no one from the public expressing interest to speak in support of Resolution 2126 and 2128.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in opposition of Resolution 2126 or 2128.
Thank you. The public hearing portion is now closed. I'll go back to Mr. Mike King in regards to the question or the comment that was made by Mr. Geiger.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Geiger for his question. We're committed to being as inclusive as we can. We had a minority-owned firm, women minority-owned firm, that helped us do the phase 1 and phase 2 environmental. And we're hoping that we'll be able to involve more minority and female-owned firms as we move forward. In terms of our collaboration with women minority businesses, that's been one of our core focuses from the very beginning. And so we've been working very closely with the Women's Entrepreneur Initiative out of St. Mary's College, the Entrepreneurship and Adversity program with Michael Morris out of Notre Dame, James Summers Westside Business Center through Project Impact, and with the South Bend Center for Small Business Development Center. And one of the reasons that we sort of divide this up into the 60 retail and community units is so that we can welcome businesses of different levels of development. Startup businesses can get in at very reasonable initial rates, but we also have spaces for midterm or well-established businesses. The businesses we are currently talking to represent a cross-section of the community, including both female and minority-owned businesses. At this point, we have no pre-leases, but we have been talking with a wide variety of folks, and we hope to continue to do that.
Thank you. We'll now move back to council members. Prior to asking for a motion regarding Resolution 2126, I would ask council members if you have any comments or statements that you would like to make at this time. Councilman Lee?
Well, first of all, we're excited that this is happening in the first district and that this big building that has been sitting there for so long is being brought back to life. And then an opportunity for small businesses to have an opportunity to have a space. So again, with it being an abandoned building for so long, and now it's going to be back on the tax roll, and it's going to be something that's going to beautify the neighborhood. We're excited about it.
Thank you. Any other council members would like to make a statement? Councilwoman Hammond, followed by Councilwoman Niskoski.
Yes, I'd like to thank Mr. Keene for all the work that he is doing on this. And I know you all have heard me say this before, but I will say it once again. This, in my estimation, is exactly what the economic revitalization area and the tax abatements were structured to do, to work as infill, to help to restore these old brownstones and to bring life back to the community centers. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Councilwoman Niskoski?
Yes, I kind of want to echo what Councilwoman Hammond says. This is really perfect for this neighborhood, to this type of investment. The time and the energy I know that you have spent there is tremendous, but it's going to have such a meaningful impact in the city. And I'm so happy to really support this measure for you. And thank you for all the work you've done in that area of town. And thank you, Mr. Buckemeyer.
Any other comments? I too would like to echo those comments from my fellow council members. It's just a pleasure to see how individuals can come together and with a vision and the passion and the energy to really bring about the project that we have before us. And I can't wait to meet Mr. Anderson in person. I've had opportunity to really be on a number of Zoom meetings with him and really want to thank him for his commitment to our city as well. I see this as becoming a project that can be held and develop in other neighborhoods as well. So we look forward to the project continue to grow and be implemented. So thank you, Mr. King, as well.
Thank you all.
I'd like to entertain now a motion regarding Resolution 21-26.
I'd like to move Resolution 21-26 for passage.
Second.
We have a motion and it's, I'm sorry, Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-26 has been adopted. I will now entertain a motion regarding Resolution 21-28.
Move for passage.
Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-28 has been adopted. Clerk Jones, will you please read Resolution 21-30, please?
Can I move to consider 2130 and 2132 together?
For purpose of the public hearing?
Yes.
Yes. Is there a second to that?
Second.
We have a motion. All of those, and it has been seconded. Council members who are in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Clerk Jones, will you also read Resolution 2132
Yes.
as well?
2130, a resolution confirming the adoption of a declaratory resolution designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, commonly known as 3425 West Lathrop Drive, South Bend, Indiana, 46628, as an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 4-year real property tax abatement for McCormick and Company, Inc. 2132, a resolution confirming the adoption of a declaratory resolution designating certain areas within the city of South Bend, Indiana, commonly known as 3425 West Lathrop Drive, South Bend, Indiana, 46628, as an economic revitalization area for purposes of a 5-year personal property tax abatement for McCormick and Company, Inc.
Thank you. These two resolutions are confirming, so we will not need to have a committee report. At this time, I would ask Mr. Dan Buckenmeyer from Community Investment to give us a brief overview of these two resolutions, and then we will go directly to the presenters.
Thank you. Dan Buckenmeyer again, Director of Business Development, offices on the 14th floor of this building. So both of these are looking at a company that had a tough decision to make. McCormick and Company, earlier this year, or late last year, lost a big chunk of business. The business that they were specifically doing at their location over on Lathrop, which is just on the kind of the across the fence of the northeast corner of the airport. So they lost a big chunk of business. They could have made a decision to close up shop here in South Bend. Instead, they have determined to make a significant roughly over $40 million investment in expanding their existing building and retooling in order to start producing a new product there. Doing so will retain 80 jobs, a $3.3 million payroll, and keep them in town. And we are thrilled that they are making that kind of investment and re-upping their commitment to South Bend. So the two types of tax abatements that we're looking at here are a real property tax abatement that will offset and support their $17.9 million private investment in adding 15,000 square feet to the building. And then the other abatement in concert with that is a personal property tax abatement on the nearly $24 million worth of new equipment that will be brought in order to make some delicious Frank's Red Hot sauce. So I'll stop there. I believe Deidre and or Reginald from McCormick and Company are online and can add whatever I have not covered.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Reginald Davis, as he talked, we are at 3425 Lathrop. We're excited to work together with you and to help us to grow our business right here in South Bend. As our company grows, we want to grow with it. And this work will enable us to transform ourselves to be a bigger portion of the growth strategy of McCormick and Company. So I wish to thank you very much and look forward to adding more and more business to our location right here in South Bend.
Thank you. At this time, council members, do you have any questions that you would like to ask either Mr. Buckenmeyer or the petitioner regarding Resolution 2130 and 21, if I'm not mistaken, 32? Any questions? Councilmember Lee?
Just would like them to just tell us how diverse their staff is.
Yes, sir. We're a very, very diverse organization of up to 50% minorities, 40% women, right there at the site. That's the same with leadership as well. Same equal distribution of minority and women.
Are there any other questions? Councilwoman Hammond?
Either Mr. Buckmeyer or the petitioner. On the points graphic, there is under number 2, it says paid target wage levels, but there is no distinguishing features to that. What are we talking about when it says target wage levels?
That's one I'll have to get back to you on. I'm sorry. I'm blanking on what the specifics of that. I might be able to have it by the time I walk up here next.
Does that have to do with the health and welfare package? I see that also says provide health care benefits. Is that part of a health and welfare package?
It is part of that, but I don't recall where the target wage levels are specified or how they are.
Mr. Buckenmeyer, would you like for us to go to the public hearing portion and circle back to you?
Sure.
For the answer? Thank you. Clerk Jones, is there anyone waiting to speak in favor of Resolution 2130 and Resolution 2132?
There is no one from the public expressing interest to speak in favor of Resolution 2130 and Resolution 2132.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to these two resolutions?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in opposition of Resolution 2130 and 2132.
Thank you. The public hearing portion is now closed. Mr. Buckenmeyer, do you have the answer to that question?
I'm able to get it that quickly. I'm sorry.
While we're waiting, I'm going to ask council members, are there any any statements that you would like to make in regards to these two resolutions? Any comments? Councilwoman Rachel Thomas Morgan.
Thank you, President White. Mr. Davis, I just want to thank you for your commitment to remain in our community, to expand, to recreate the line, to expand and to retain those jobs in our city.
Thank you. We look very much, I'm very excited about having this opportunity going forward.
Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, President White. Yeah, I'm excited. I know some people that work out there at McCormick's and glad to see they're going to be able to keep their jobs. When I was an electrician, I've worked out there. I'm glad to see that there'll still be product being produced in the building, and I'm excited to be able to say that Frank's Red Hot Sauce will be produced here in South Bend.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I would just like to say that touring the facility and seeing the various workers and seeing the setup which they have there, it's impressive. And again, when they could have packed up and left, they didn't. They stayed in South Bend, and they're producing Frank's Red Hot, and they're producing the Stubbs barbecue sauce, and various ketchup for McDonald's. So, and I've never seen people as excited about ketchup as the people that I saw at McCormick's, and the workers were very happy. So we're glad that you're staying in the first district, and we're glad that you're continuing to produce stuff in South Bend. So thank you.
Mr. Buckenmeyer?
You're going to see why I didn't have this committed to memory. I'm just going to read it verbatim rather than even trying to summarize. So the target wage levels indicate that they will pay employees in each applicable standard occupational classification, or SOC, system category an average wage calculated by summing the wages of all employees in a given SOC category, dividing that by the number of such employees. That is at least 100% of the mean hourly wage reported for the SOC category by the Bureau of Labor Statistics in its most recent metropolitan area occupational employment and wage estimates for South Bend. So in other words, they're going to pay above or at average of what everyone else does.
Okay, thank you.
Is the best way I can say.
Council member, I would like to entertain a motion regarding resolution 21-30.
Move for passage.
I second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-30 has been adopted. I will now entertain a motion regarding resolution 21-32.
Move for passage.
Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-32 has been adopted. Clerk Jones, will you please read resolution 21-33?
2133, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appointing an agent or negotiator to represent the Common Council and addressing the city advisory negotiating team for the 2021 Teamster labor negotiations.
Is there a committee report?
This bill was heard in Personnel and Finance Committee earlier this afternoon and comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. My name is Karen White. I live at 1912 Malvern Way, South Bend, Indiana, and I have the privilege of presenting this resolution. The city has been informed that the Teamsters has elected to renegotiate their current extended contract, which expires on December 31st, 2021. As it has been in the past, the council will name a chief negotiator and a council advisory team for the negotiations. At this time, I'm happy to bring before the council that Council Member Lori Hammond, Council Member Rachel Thomas Morgan, and Councilman Eli Wax will serve as the council advisory team, and council attorney will serve as the council chief negotiator. So I do ask for your support of this resolution. At this time, council members, are there any questions that you may have? Councilman Davis?
Sure. Years past, there has been question on the level of influence that the council has at these negotiating tables. I've served on this one a few times, actually. I always walked away feeling fulfilled. However, as time has moved, it appears that the council's ability to participate in the negotiations have lessened. I would like to have more clarity on council's level of participation in negotiations. I think that's a fair question. I think that we all probably have our own interpretation of what council is supposed to do. Idea, is there a written record or book definition on our level of participation in our role? I mean, because if we're just showing up just to show up and say that we, listen to the conversation, I mean, what's the point? Right?
I understand your
Yeah,
question.
but what's the
and-
point?
And I would need to get back with you, but I can say that the council has a very active role in regards to negotiation. According to Indiana code, this council provides the compensation for, must be fixed by us no later than November the 1st in regards to the level of participation and the meetings, and also the ability for us to weigh in. From my experience, we've been able to do that, and we've been active participants. But I will follow up with your question and will respond in writing.
Well, I'm glad you said that from your vantage point, from your
Yes.
experience. Everyone seems to have a different experience. And it also comes in with some type of connotative meaning. It's kind of like by passing of conversation or level of experience, or just what I feel like saying or doing while I'm there. I really like to dig into that because, like you just said, we set the salary. We pay the salaries. We say yes or no to a salary increase or not. And so I think that there needs to, like I said, there needs to be probably a more of an intentional or more detailed discussion about council's participation on any negotiating team, on any. It doesn't necessarily have to be firefighters. It could be Teamsters or police. But I think that that role needs to be spelled out better.
Thank you. I have it on my notes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, are there any other questions regarding the resolution? If not, I'll move to the privilege of the floor. Clerk Jones, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Resolution 21-33?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in support of Resolution 2133.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one present from the public wishing to speak in opposition of Resolution 2133.
The public hearing portion is now closed. Council members, are there any statements that you would like to make at this time? If not, I would like to entertain a motion regarding Bill 21-33.
So move.
Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll? I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Can we clarify what the motion was?
Yes.
Oh, she asked for a recommendation. I'm sorry. We support this favorably. Is that better, Eli?
Move for passage?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
For passage.
That's what you was looking for? Move for passage? Okay, sorry, sir. I'll say it next time.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White,
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you. Resolution 21-33 has been adopted. Clerk Jones, will you please read Resolution 21-34?
2134, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appointing an agent or negotiator and an advisory Common Council negotiating team to represent the Common Council for the upcoming fire department negotiations.
Is there a committee report?
This bill was heard in the Personnel and Finance Committee this afternoon and comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Again, my name is Karen White. Currently, I live at 1912 Melbourne Way, South Bend, Indiana, 46614. I would like to present this resolution that indicates that the South Bend Common Council has been informed by the firefighters union and that they have elected to renegotiate the current contract, which also expires on December 31st. As it has been in the past, the council will name a chief negotiator and a chief advisory team for the negotiations. At this time, I would like to bring forth the proposed names: Council Attorney Bob Palmer and the Council Chief, who will be the Council's chief negotiator, and Vice President Sharon McBride. Councilwoman Sheila Niskoski and Councilman Troy Warner will serve as the advisory team for the council. At this time, I ask for your favorable support. I will now ask council members, do you have any questions regarding Resolution 21-34? Seeing no questions, we'll now go to the public hearing portion. Are there any questions? We'll go to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Resolution 21-34?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in support of Resolution 21-34.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one present from the public wishing to speak in opposition of Resolution 2134.
Thank you. The public hearing portion is now closed. Council members, prior to asking for a motion, are there any comments that you would like to make at this time? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion.
Move for adoption. Is that right? Is that right?
Second. Okay, we have Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Niskoski,
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-34 has been adopted. Clerk Jones, will you please read Resolution 21-35?
2135, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, to authorize and approve the City of South Bend, Indiana's opt-out of the State of Indiana's structured settlement of opioid litigation under Indiana Code 4-16-15.
Is there a committee report?
There is President White. 2135 was heard in the Personnel and Finance Committee this afternoon and comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Are the presenters present? We ask that you state your name and address for the record and to give us an overview of Resolution 21-35, please.
Thank you, members of council. My name is Aladine DeRose. I'm the city attorney for South Bend. My office is located on the 12th floor of the county city building. As you are aware, and as the country is aware, the opioid crisis has taken a great toll on the country, on the state, and on our own community. It has produced addiction. It has produced overdoses, heroin addiction, in addition to opioid addiction, death, long-term health care and medical care impairments, and these are just a few of those effects. It has also cost the city out of pocket a substantial sum of money. To assist the city in recovering these losses, South Bend, along with many other cities in the country and in the state, filed suits against the responsible parties for this crisis. These were the opioid manufacturers and distributors. The City of South Bend's lawsuit was initiated in March 2018. It was amended in 2019 to add pharmacies to the list of the responsible parties. The state of Indiana at the same time had also filed its own claim and lawsuit against the manufacturer Purdue Pharma and distributors McKesson, Cardinal Nursing Health, and AmerisourceBergen. During the 2021 legislative session, the state of Indiana and its General Assembly passed a bill amending the Indiana Code to require that any local government agency that had filed a lawsuit, an opioid lawsuit against, who had not filed an opioid lawsuit against these responsible parties prior to January 1, 2021, would be confined to the state's settlement program for any recoveries that the state made from its suit against the responsible parties. That statute also compels anyone who filed a lawsuit before January 1, 21, to opt out of the state plan. And if not doing so, then the local government agency would be bound by the state's recovery plan program. And the state's program limits cities, towns, and counties to 15% of what the state obtains in settlement of claims. For cities like South Bend, who filed their lawsuits before January of 21, this opt-out is something that the city wishes to do, because with the help of outside counsel, we've determined that the benefits to the city's own pursuit of its claims outweighs what we would receive as the 15% of the state's proposed payout. Other cities and towns like South Bend, in fact, most of the cities and towns in the state of Indiana have indeed agreed and have taken steps to opt out. These include Marion County, the city of Indianapolis, the city of West Lafayette, Vandenberg County, which includes Evansville, Terre Haute, and many others. And from what we understand, all but about 2 very small counties have determined that they will stay in the state's plan. Because South Bend has a very limited time in which to do this opt-out, and that is by June 30th, it would have to submit to the Attorney General certain information as well as a certified copy of the Common Council's opt-out resolution. We consider this matter to be urgent and that it is in need of passage this evening so that we can do the things that are required to satisfy the state by June 30th. The state has also given us a chance to opt back in if later we determine by more information that we know we don't have at this time that South Bend would be better off or better, it would be to South Bend's advantage to stay within the state's recovery plan. So we have a period of 60 days from the date of passage of a resolution for opt-out to opt back in. But at this time, we don't have sufficient information to determine that opt-in is appropriate. And in fact, the information we do have supports a decision to opt out. And that's what we're asking this council to do this evening. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Council members, do you have any questions from Attorney DeRose? Any questions, council members? Seeing none, we'll now go to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Resolution 21-35?
There is no one from the public expressing interest to speak in support of Resolution 2135.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one from the public present wishing to speak in opposition of Resolution 2135.
The public hearing portion is now closed. Council members, are there any comments that you would like to make prior to me entertaining the motion regarding this resolution? Seeing no one, will now entertain a motion regarding Resolution 21-35.
Move for passage.
I second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
President White,
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-35 has been adopted. Clerk Jones, will you please give first reading? I'm sorry, will you please read Resolution 21-36?
2136, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, reinstating, reaffirming, and amending Resolution number 2519-97 to add sites to the established Professional Sports Convention Development Area, otherwise known as PSCDA, namely Aloft Hotel Courtyard by Marriott, Doubletree Hotel, Howard Park Community Center, and Indiana University at South Bend, to extend the expiration date of the PSCDA first established by resolution number 2519-97 to make other necessary and appropriate changes to resolution number 2519-97.
Is there a committee report?
This resolution was heard by the Personnel and Finance Committee earlier today and comes to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Are the presenters present? We do ask that you state your name and address, please.
Yes, thank you, President White. Dan Parker, City Controller. My office is on the 12th floor of the County City Building. So this resolution is actually a response to the passage of Senate Bill 384, which was passed through the Indiana General Assembly in their 2021 session. The resolution it does two main things. The first thing is it reinstates the Professional Sports and Convention Development Area, the taxing area. And the second thing it does is it expands the number of facilities contained within that tax area. So looking at those two things, the reinstatement of the tax area, the South Bend actually previously had a PSCDA, a Professional Sports and Convention Development Area. It was established in 1997. It lapsed in 2017 due to a 20-year limit on that, which was imposed by state statute. The Senate Bill 384 allows us to reinstate that now. The tax area allows us to capture sales tax and income tax from the facilities that are named as a part of the area. It doesn't impose new taxes. It doesn't raise taxes. Instead, it takes taxes that would otherwise be remitted to the state and allows us to capture those and keep those locally. The taxes, once we bring them in, have to be utilized for capital improvements to be made for city-owned professional sports complexes, convention centers, other tourism-related facilities that are named as a part of the development area. So that's the first thing it does, is it reinstates that taxing area, allows us to start collecting that revenue again starting June 30th of this year. The second thing it does is it expands the number of facilities. So the previous taxing area included what was then known as Stanley Kovaleski Stadium, which is now known as Four Winds Field at Stanley Kovaleski Stadium, Century Center, College Football Hall of Fame, what was then known as the Morris Civic Auditorium, which is now known as the Morris Performing Arts Center, the Palais Royal Ballroom, and the Studebaker National Museum. All of those are still in the new taxing area, and then the additions are 3 downtown hotels, the Aloft, the Doubletree, and the Courtyard by Marriott, and then also Howard Park, which includes the Howard Park Public House as well as the Howard Park Community Center, and then Indiana University South Bend. So the sales taxes and the income taxes that are generated at all of those facilities would be captured by the city and brought in for the use for capital improvements. The previous taxing area that we had, which had fewer facilities, generated about $700,000 for us annually in revenue. With the additional facilities, we actually estimate that this will be more in the neighborhood of $1.5 million to $2 million annually in revenue. The state statute does actually cap the amount of revenue we can get for this at $2 million, and we expect to get fairly close to actually realizing that cap. So that's what the resolution actually does, and I'll turn it over to Aaron, who can talk about the fun things that we're actually going to do with the money once we bring it in.
Yes, Council, good evening. Aaron Perry, Executive Director of South Bend Venues, Parks and Arts offices at 301 South St. Louis. to note that this particular resolution in front of you doesn't necessarily commit funding towards any particular project at this point in time. It just allows us to capture the taxes Controller Parker just spoke of. But nonetheless, a primary use in the past has been the baseball stadium for Winds Field. You heard earlier today from Andrew Berlin, who described some of the impacts that we've seen, approximately $24 million a year of economic impact. A lot of it spurred on because of not only this historic tax, but also his private investment into the ballpark. Over $22 million into the condos and $10 million of his own money into the city-owned ballpark. This evening, to speak on behalf of Andrew Berlin, as part of the presentation, we have Dick Nussbaum with us to offer a few words on behalf of Mr. Berlin. Dick also was a major player in the original establishment of the PSCDA back in 1997 and has been very helpful this time around as well. Dick, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay, Aaron?
Yes, we can. Sure can.
Okay.
Name and address, and then you can go.
Sure. It's Richard A. Nussbaum. I'm an attorney practicing law here in South Bend and have been for the past 40-something years at 210 South Michigan, South Bend, Indiana, 46601. I'm here as a pinch hitter, pardon the pun, for Andrew Berlin, who very passionately provided the council with a lot of information relative to the success of the ballpark and the projects there through his own efforts as well as through the city's efforts and the previous ownership. I am not going to repeat all of that. I think I'm going to try to give some context to it, but Andrew is not with you this evening because he mentioned that his family is very important to him, and his oldest son, Gavin, is celebrating his birthday today, and they are at the White Sox ball game, which is an interesting dynamic in that family, given Mr. Berlin's affinity with the Cubs. So they're enjoying a nice family outing. As Aaron said, I was involved in 1997, and this has been a very valuable tool for the city of South Bend as well as many other cities in the state. And actually, it was established in South Bend through the efforts of then Representative Pat Bauer. It's really, I think, very neat to be able to have his daughter, Maureen Bauer, involved in this legislation, as well as Senator Mishler and Senator Nitskotsky. This has been a wonderful collaboration between the political parties here in Indiana, between state and local government, and it does provide, as Mr. Parker has said, a resource for us to continue the success that has not only occurred at the ballpark, but also in the downtown areas. And so this tool is being helped this evening by the council's action. As Aaron said, we'll probably come back and have some more detailed discussions as to the use of those funds. But it is a very important step to take advantage of this tool. And also, there has been some dramatic changes in the minor league baseball business model. Major League Baseball, as Mr. Berlin indicated, has taken a much more direct role in the operations of minor league baseball. And there's a lot of requirements that are going to be done that need to be done in order to keep this facility a professional sports facility here in South Bend. So we're in a really good spot here in South Bend because of this tool, and because of the ownership we have, because of the collaboration between the public and private entities here. And I look forward to your support and working with you further with regard to this particular resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. Council members, do you have any questions of the presenters? Councilwoman Lori Hammond.
Mr. Parker, I'm just wondering, do these funds go directly into Venue Parks and Arts? They go into the general fund? Are we creating a new fund?
Yes, good question. Yeah, we actually are creating a new fund, and the bill to do so is on first reading this evening. So you'll hear it in just a few minutes when we get to the bills on first reading, and then we'll talk about it at the June 28th meeting, which will be before we start actually receiving the revenue on in June 30th if this were to be approved.
Thank you.
Council members, are there any questions that you have of the petitioner? If not, thank you for your presentation. We'll now move to the public hearing portion. Is there anyone waiting to speak in support of resolution 21-36?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in support of resolution 21-36.
Is there anyone waiting to speak in opposition?
There is no one from the public waiting to speak in opposition of resolution 21-36.
Thank you, Clerk Jones. The public hearing portion is now closed. Council members, do you want to make any comments at this time? Seeing none, I would like to entertain a motion for adoption.
I move for adoption.
Second.
We have Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Warner, Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-36 has been adopted. Clerk
Thank you.
Jones. Clerk Jones, will you please read resolution 21-37?
2137, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, confirming the grant of certain real property tax abatement deductions and waiving non-compliance for property commonly known as 5870 Carbon Mill, South Bend, Indiana, 46628 for Rue LLC.
Thank you. Is there committee report?
Yes, President White. Community Investment Committee met this afternoon. Sorry. Met this afternoon and sends resolution 2137 to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Do we have a presenter? We do ask that you state your name and address.
Yes, thank you. This is, or I am Dan Buckenmeyer, Director of Business Development, offices on 14th floor of this building. Not sure what happened here. There we go. Just by way of a quick general overview of waivers of noncompliance, we did do a informational session last week, June 8th. But in case you weren't able to make it, this comes from Indiana Code. I won't recite the numbers, but typically comes for one of three reasons. All three of these tonight are here for the third bullet point, failure to file all the Got it. We just need folks to stay muted for a moment. So I want to make it clear that all three of these that we will hear about tonight did submit their necessary compliance forms to the city, to DCI. They're specifically their CF1s, Compliance Form 1. In all cases, there are other forms that also need to go to the auditor, and this is where things can sometimes get tripped up. In this case, all three were a Form 322RE relevant to real property tax abatements, and we'll get into the specifics of each one. But I also want to point out that in all three of these cases, the petitioners asking for these waivers did pay their tax bill as received without the abatement applied in full. So as a show of good faith, they've all paid the tax bill with your support in asking for these waivers tonight. They would be refunded or this would be applied to their future tax bills. The process is listed there. I'm not going to read through it, but you can see that. What I will note that this is we love hitting 100% rate. For the last 2 years, we've done that. This is the first three we've had in 3 years. These three petitioners in these specific, just these three real property abatements represent over $32 million of investment that were made into our community. They represent some of our largest and most trusted partners and developers. REW is associated with Cressy. The 8090, the second one, is led by Holiday Development. And of course, TWS is the owners of Liberty Tower. So collectively, they're responsible for a lot of the development activity and investment in South Bend. So we'll be asking for your support in each of these cases. So getting into Bill 21-37, again, REW LLC is the landowner associated with Cressy and leasing to a company called Shambaugh, which I'll get into in a moment. But back in August 2018, we worked with them, and this is just on Dillon Drive, immediately north of Cleveland, right in the kind of southern edge of the Portage Prairie development there. So they developed this, and I think it's about a 30,000 square foot building, if memory serves. They were eligible for a 6-year abatement, but in order for them to meet their gap in their financing and their funding capital stack, they asked for only 4 years. So I think it's notable that they didn't take more than they needed in this case, if you will. They were able to do the project. They leased the $1.4 million development of land and building to Shambaugh & Sons. Shambaugh is a company that had consolidated here now several offices from around the region, Mishawaka and elsewhere, centralized some of their operations at this new location. And since opening there, just within the last year and a half or so, they've added 32 new employees there. So they've already far exceeded their jobs commitment that they made, and as well as their investment commitment in the original tax abatement. So I'll stop there. I know Rick Doolittle from the team on their end is here, so I'll allow Rick to talk for a moment, and then we'll take any questions.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Doolittle. I'm affiliated with Cressy Commercial Company at 4100 Edison Lakes Parkway. And I appreciate your taking the time to consider this waiver of non-compliance. I'm the principal broker that was responsible for this development, and I unfortunately failed to understand or prepare the 322 CE reports to the auditor. We did file the CF1s with the city promptly over the last 2 years, but for whatever reason, I just never understood the 322 RE reports. So bad on me, but it's a great project, and it's been very helpful and healthy for the city of South Bend, and I hope you will agree that it's worthy of a waiver to move this thing forward for the next 4 years.
Thank you.
Any questions you may have, I welcome them, and I'll be happy to answer.
Council members, do you have any questions? Thank you for your presentation. We'll now move to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone present wishing to speak in support of Bill Resolution 2137?
There is no one from the public wishing to speak in support of Resolution 2137.
Anyone present wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one present wishing to speak in opposition of Resolution 2137.
Council members, do you have any comments you would like to make at this time? Councilwoman Lori Hammond.
I would just like to state that as a council, we should be very conscious that we are not setting any dangerous precedent in terms of diminishing the value of the gift that we are granting to these companies through these abatements. Compliance must be very intentional. So nothing personal against the businesses. I understand that mistakes can happen, but I think as a council, we should just be very conscious of that. Thank you.
Are there Councilwoman Rachel Thomas Morgan?
Yes, thanks, President White. As we discussed in committee, Mr. Buckenmeyer, there seems to be as you stated, the commonality with these three waivers is that 322 form with the county auditor. And as we discussed, there seems to be an opportunity there to work with them and streamline those processes or what have you, but would look forward to continued discussions with you and your team to see how we can decrease the number of these waivers, but in particular, I'm struck by the three of these waivers having failed on that particular form with the county.
Councilman Henry Davis?
Mr. Buckenmeyer, when these companies approach you, whoever the representative is, do they come to you hat in hand, or they come in there and they're kind of forcing you to make a decision? What is the atmosphere like?
I guess it's a different situation in every situation. I've never had them come necessarily just hat in hand, and certainly not forcing me a decision. I can't make the decision, you do. We simply evaluate. Sometimes we do let a petitioner know if they are seeking a tax abatement. We'll do some analysis. We spend a lot of time with them to understand what benefit the project brings to the community, whether a tax abatement actually would have a benefit for them. Sometimes the cost benefit really doesn't work out given the circuit breaker and the fees for a tax abatement, for example. Sometimes it just doesn't have a meaningful benefit for them either. But we, I think everything that we bring to you, I would argue has a resounding story to it, whether it's the Ward building and, just using the two examples today, the Ward building where we, are really transforming a building on Portage that I think arguably, and I think most people would agree, isn't just transforming the building, but will be transformational to the surrounding community. And then another that is making a very significant, $40+ million investment in their business, which they could have just as easily pulled out of South Bend, given the loss of that business. Now, in this case, REW, I think it's worth pointing out that someone needs a mute again. And I looked it up, Councilman Hammond, you had asked in committee about what. I can't remember if the question was phrased as what were they paying before, or what did we give them? This parcel was paying $104 a year to the tax rolls prior to this project coming in. And again, this is a company that came in, sat down with us. We worked through their financials and so on. We said, they gave us the level of investment, how much they were putting into the project, how much they were going to projected they would have to spend to build the building and develop the land and landscape, as it's a gorgeous piece of land right now, and so on. And came back and said, okay, you actually qualify for a 6-year tax abatement. They said, we just need to fill this gap. We only need 4. So it's an iterative process. It's a back and forth. It isn't something that happens in a day or even a week. But it's a tough question to answer, as probably evidence, because every situation is very unique.
Well, I got that, and I guess I should have been able to clarify that question, but I think the way you answered was what I was looking for. What I've noticed with most of these tax abatements, especially when companies are expanding, or there's always like this kind of this sense that I get from the discussions that if we don't do this, they're going to leave. Or if we don't, so it's almost like the South Bend is not offering them anything. It sounds like South Bend is not offering them anything.
Well, I think
no, you're missing. You're going to go somewhere else. Let me clarify.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that we offer something. We're in a great location of the United States of America. We have major highways running through. We have internationally world-renowned university that's in the northeast corner. You understand what I'm saying? We have people who are committed to working. We're a blue-collar city. So it almost seems like that when these companies show up, and this is rhetorical, that we don't have anything to offer, and they're offering everything to us. And if we don't do whatever they're requesting or asking to be done, then we're going to lose out so much that we're not even going to have a community anymore. That's what I get from these conversations. And I feel like that is like really wrong-headed. I think that it undermines the work that we do, that you do every day. I think that there needs to be more of a prideful conversation about the coming of the two heads and coming up with a great plan for the development of the city, just not certain parts or certain districts. And I've been sitting here long enough to hear that conversation, and it's just really bugging me now. It's irritating. Now, maybe you don't mean that, maybe they don't mean that, but that's how I'm taking this information in. It's like, gee, guys, thanks for showing up. We didn't have enough air until you came. Yeah, right. Thank you.
Councilman, may I?
I'm just talking about city business and how we look at these things as we move forward. I don't mean to step on anything that goes on with any company or anything like that, or any worker. I'm just talking about there's a heavy sense from my vantage point.
I understand what you're saying.
Hold on, Rick. Hold on, Rick.
Huh? That's the presenter. The presenter. We have closed up the public hearing portion and the presentation, and we're now at a point where council members are just making statements, and we're going to move and ask other council members if they have any statement. We do appreciate the presenter, and we can have conversation after this meeting, but again, we're at a different place in the whole, format that we have. So we appreciate your presentation, your comments, and then I am actually taking notes as we work through each one of our council members. I will put the notes in writing. They will be submitted to the council as well as the clerk, and also with Mr. Buckenmeyer, I'll follow up with you as well.
Thank you.
So if there's no other comments from council members, I'd like to entertain a motion for adoption.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner,
Aye.
President White.
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-37 has been adopted. Clerk Jones, will you please read Resolution 2138?
2138, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, confirming the grant of certain real property tax abatement deductions and waiving noncompliance for property commonly known as 24605 Cleveland Road, South Bend, Indiana, 46628 for 80-90 Industrial LLC.
Thank you. Is there a committee report?
Yes, President White. Resolution 2138 was discussed in community investment this afternoon and comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Buckenmeyer?
Yes, Dan Buckenmeyer, Director of Business Development, offices on the 14th floor of this building. So this waiver comes to us from 8090 Industrial, a investment group led by the Holiday Development Company, and I think Paul Fair is on. I hope so. If not, I'll try to cover off some of the things that were noted this afternoon. In any event, this is a brand new building. Just received its certificate of occupancy in November of last year. This was a spec building that started prior to the whole COVID experience. So in April 2019, we looked at this $10 million project, a 225,000 square foot spec building. They put out a big risk to build this building without a tenant. And then when COVID came, we all got kind of nervous, but we were blessed with a company that is fairly regional, out of Syracuse, Indiana, a company called Polywood that actually makes plastic, takes old recycled milk jugs, about 400,000 a day, and turns them into comfortable Adirondack chairs of many colors and so on. So really neat company that started back in 1990 and will now have a huge footprint here in South Bend with their primary distribution center. So we're very excited about that. But back to the petitioner and the situation. So there are a lot of moving parts. Yes, these are all 322 REs. These are all influenced by many things that happen in county offices that we don't always have direct exposure to. So at some point, we know when a new project starts, the assessor will go out and assess it. It might be while it's being built, it might not be, and it might be when it's completely done. They never know when that Form 11 is going to show up, indicating that someone has assessed it. So in the previous case, it was interesting that they went a longer period of time without an assessment on the one that we previously presented, so then it kind of hit them sideways. In this case, it came a lot quicker than was expected. So the petitioner was sort of surprised with the fact that they got a tax bill for this year. They did not expect a tax bill until it was complete. So the assessor did go out when it was still under construction and take a look at it and apply a partial tax value on it. So they missed the deadline for that reason and so on, and they're asking for this waiver. And Paul, there he is. All right, Paul, why don't you jump in and let me know what I left out. Oh, I will add one last thing that just as we said for the last one. So these properties, I'll add two things. These properties were only paying, it was a green field, there was nothing there, empty, vacant fields. They were only paying $6,200 a year to the tax rolls. Over the 6 years of the abatement that has been granted, they'll pay over $150,000 by our estimates, and then when they're fully on the tax rolls, over $320,000 per year to the tax rolls. So dramatic increase, and you know, they took a dramatic risk, and we believe this is a good reason to help them out with these things. The only other thing that I would note is our appreciation for the fact that if you look at the lower picture on the far side of that, so on the all the way down the eastern side of their property, they did collaborate with the city and Public Works in order to give us an easement and coordinate our construction with theirs so that we could make an enhancement to just the sewer lines and systems going through that area. So they were kind enough to, again, give an easement and allow us to make some Public Works infrastructure improvements there as well when that was built. So, Paul?
Thanks, Dan, and good evening, council members. I'll be brief with my comments because Dan gave a very thorough explanation of the scenario here.
Well, we need name and address, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Paul Fair with Holiday Properties, 3454 Douglas Road in South Bend. I just want to, I guess, touch on the time frame. So we sought an abatement in the middle of 2019 and started construction in October of 2019. The completion or receipt of certificate of occupancy came in November 2020, and in between then we received partial assessment, as Dan said previously. The error on our part is we just had a misunderstanding of when to file. For whatever reason, I don't have a good explanation for you, but we were under the impression that we were supposed to file once we received full assessment after construction. That's clearly not the case, and it was an error on our part, and we apologize for that misstep. We clearly know that now, and we will be on top of this going forward. The tax abatement is huge in pursuing a spec building. As you can imagine, and making an investment like this without having a tenant in place is a risky endeavor. And so having a tax abatement that can be marketed to potential customers or potential tenants is a huge attraction for our area and for this building, and really a huge driver for finding users. And we're excited to have Pollywood as a tenant. As Dan mentioned, they're down in Syracuse, where they've grown significantly in the last 30 years. We're excited about them moving up into South Bend for the first time, and hope this is, maybe a preview of things to come. The only problem that they have right now is filling up this warehouse because their sales pace is so strong that they're having a hard time building inventory, but that'll come. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and we appreciate your consideration and apologize for the error that we've made here.
Thank you. Council members, do you have any questions? Seeing none, I'm sorry, Councilmember Troy Warner?
Yeah. Paul, the council's had kind of an ongoing discussion about tax abatements and whether they're hand-ups or holdouts and different theories and philosophies. I know Holiday is a local company. You guys do a lot of development. What's your theory? When do you guys ask for tax abatements?
So, we've only done, since I've been at Holiday, we've done 2 spec buildings. And those spec buildings are kind of unique because you don't know exactly what you're going to get ultimately. And so you go into it to try and keep your ask fairly broad and only to where you need it to be to attract someone. In that, so I'm looking at, I pulled some of the numbers from our past. The only other true spec building that we did that had a tax abatement was back in 2008. We now have 3 tenants in that building. Our tax bill for pay 21 is $162,000. And the 3 tenants, 2 of them are manufacturing, one's a distribution user. We don't report jobs anymore because the abatement is expired. But if I had to wager a guess, I'd expect that there's probably, I'm going to guess somewhere in the neighborhood of probably about 70 jobs between those 3 tenants today. So the reason I like that building is because it gives you an ongoing picture. I mean, we're putting these buildings up and the abatement lasts for a period of time, but these buildings should be here for several decades. And they don't end with the initial tenant. Eventually that group moves and someone new comes in and they create jobs. So it does create an ongoing life cycle of a building by getting it up and moving. The other scenario where you are doing what we call build to suit is when you have a tenant that you're already working with. That's a little bit more straightforward and much easier for people to kind of digest and understand. And really, then they can give you job numbers and wage numbers and benefits and plans for the future, which is again much easier to digest. We do this in many markets, and tax abatements are not unique just to our area. It's a competitive tool that's used by many communities. It's one item in the decision-making process for users, and how big of an item, it's always a little bit of a guess. I can tell you from a spec building standpoint, for us, it's a certainty. We wouldn't move forward with a spec building without a tax abatement in place because it helps eliminate our risk to a tolerable level to move forward with the investment without having a customer. Now, this particular property, there's nothing to say that in 2-3 years we wouldn't have gotten someone who would have come and said, hey, we want to build a new facility here. That very well could happen, but there's also a very real possibility that they would come and say, but we would need a tax abatement to move forward with that construction. So it is something that has been a very typical part of the development process for us. I see the pros and cons of it, to be perfectly honest, but I really do think that it's a valuable tool to use in order to get these buildings up as quickly as possible, because they start paying taxes sooner, they start creating jobs sooner. And right now we have very little industrial space in our market that's available, and frankly I think we're missing out on opportunities as a result. We just get passed over by a lot of people because they come and they say, well, we need 50,000 square feet, and you only really have one option. It's not a particularly good option, so they move on to the next market. So it's a fine balance. Of course, as a landlord, we don't want vacancy, but as a general market and economy, we need a little bit in order to attract new users or help local companies expand. So I know that that was much more long-winded than you probably wanted, and a little bit all over the place, but this is something that I think about quite a bit, as you can imagine.
No, I think I got it. I kind of heard two options: a spec option, in which you're as a developer taking a lot of risk, and you're asking the city to be a partner and share in some of that risk until tenants are found, and give you time to find those tenants.
Correct. Yep.
Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's a fair summary.
Okay, and then I heard the other kind of flip side where we've got an existing business in place and we're doing some investment, and to be able to maximize that investment and create the most number of jobs possible, then you're also asking the city to kind of be a partner in that investment.
Right. It's a different part. It's the tenant asking the city to be a partner, because I guess one thing I want to point out here, Troy, excuse me, Councilman Warner, is that for those of you who don't know or who aren't as familiar with industrial real estate, the taxes generally in these facilities are paid by the tenants. The leases are generally structured so that the tenants pay the taxes as part of what we call operating expenses. So these really are benefits to the users, to the people making investments in equipment and then job creation. So we're part of the ecosystem, but our goal here is to really have a tenant in place, and this is a benefit for them. The benefit to us is that we attract them to the building.
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot like that.
No problem.
Are there any other comments from council members? If not, we'd like to entertain a motion for adoption for Resolution 21-38.
Move for adoption. Second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Wax?
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky?
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan?
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
President White?
Aye.
8 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Clerk Jones, will you please read Resolution 21-39?
Yes. 2139, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, confirming the grant of certain real property tax abatement deductions and waiving noncompliance for property commonly known as 211 West Washington Street, parking garage, South Bend, Indiana, for the tower at Washington Square, LLC.
Is there a committee report?
Yes, there is, President White. Resolution 21-39 was discussed in Community Investment Committee this afternoon and comes to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Buckenmeyer, followed by the petitioner.
Thank you. Dan Buckenmeyer, Director of Business Development, office is on the 14th floor of this building. So this final waiver that we are coming and that staff sends forth with our recommendation for support is for Liberty Tower. So we all know Liberty Tower. It's a landmark of our community. It's the tallest building in our community. And just a few short years ago, it seemed destined to be turned into dust, if you will. We were blessed by a team of investors that came in, purchased it, has already done significant rehabilitation, $20+ million in rehabilitation to this landmark building. As you know, it houses the boutique hotel Aloft, parking structure, and then future development, both in retail on the street level and then apartments above. It's notable that back in 2016, when this was purchased and when these tax abatements were worked out with the buyer and developer, the project was broken out into 4 separate parcels, tax parcels, as what they're listed there. And as I just said, so one for the hotel, one for the apartments, retail, a parking garage. This takes us into yet another fun nuance of the 322RE, which is the fact that if your assessment doesn't change, you don't have to submit that form. So if you have a tax abatement and it's a 4-year tax abatement and your assessment stays solid, you don't have to do that. If your assessment changes somehow, and you don't know when you're going to get notified of that always, sometimes it comes as a surprise, you have to do a new 322 RE. And as Jamie will tell you, there have been some significant fluctuations in the valuation, specifically of the garage. So we're only talking today about the parking garage. This waiver that's being requested is specific only to that. Over $700,000 has been invested in the parking garage alone in this property. I think that's enough from me. Jamie, if you don't know, Jamie Rees is a tax professional. She does this every day. So I think her insights and views into the process and so on are valuable to all of us. So Jamie, please add anything.
Good evening, Jamie Reese, residing at 33767 Woodmont Ridge Drive in New Carlisle, Indiana. As Dan said, I am a certified tax rep in the state of Indiana, and I have been doing tax work for over 20 years. This particular project has been a challenge from the start. The investors did take a big risk on this property that was headed towards condemnation when they purchased it. And without the tax abatement, this project would not be where it is today. A 322 application for abatement deduction is due within 30 days from the Form 11 notice of assessment that is sent by the assessor's office. These notices have fluctuated on the dates over the last 5 years. In 2018, they were sent in September. In 2019, they were sent in July. In 2020, they were sent in April. Now that there's a solid appeal date of June 15th, these notices will be more timely and the taxpayer can anticipate them in a better way. We initially filed the first 322 on this particular parcel and the other 3 parcels in 2017. That notice came out in July. We filed it timely by August 18th. In 2018, again, we filed timely because there was an increase in the assessment from $1 million to $1.3 million on the parking garage. In 2019, it was not necessary to file a 322 because there was no increase. So it stayed flat. In 2020, this parcel increased from 1.3 million to 2.8 million. With no rhyme or reason of why the assessment increased, we have been working with the assessor's office for 3 years now to get the assessment understandable. Because it just does not make sense. We've walked through the property, we've provided blueprints, we've tried to stay on top of it as best as we could. And with COVID, I missed the deadline. The notices came out April 29th. The 322 should have been filed. In my experience, I've never had to file a 322 for a third time. We filed it August 3rd of 2020. So it was well before the spring tax bill for this year was even due. I sent a letter to the county auditor explaining our error, and I was hoping that there would be some resolutions before we got to this point. But that letter went unnoticed. I also sent it to the clerk's office. I should have sent it to community investment. There's just so many parties that are involved that aren't talking that it's really difficult for a taxpayer to follow all of these compliance rules, which is why you're seeing 3 major developers and players here tonight. The county assessor's office has got to get these things right. I think that is the underscoring issue. And it does make it difficult to be in compliance. These tax abatements are not easy. The ERA is defined for a reason. There's a significant application process. There's compliance filings every year. I understand, with all due respect, Councilmember Davis, I understand that it may sound like these developers are coming in for a handout, and that's not the case.
That's not what I was saying.
Okay.
That's not what I was saying. But
Okay.
you can go forward.
Okay. So I guess our biggest struggle here is the assessments and how we get them and when we get them and the timeliness of the filing. The hotel was actually closed for COVID during this period of time. And we are just, begging for consideration for this oversight. And the hotel and the project still has more investment to happen. It's just been slow going with the initial investment and COVID and all of the challenges that this investor has faced.
Thank you. Are there any questions? If not, we'll go to the public hearing portion. Clerk Jones, is there anyone waiting to speak in support of Resolution 21-39?
There is no one from the public waiting to speak in support of Resolution 2139.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in opposition?
There is no one present wishing to speak in opposition of Resolution 2139.
Councilmember, any final comments? Councilmember Davis?
Sure. Again, I want to be very clear about what I was saying, and it does actually matches up with this particular project itself. This project, as a matter of fact, I started in on this project when the receivership happened the first time. Can't remember the date, but it was a long, drawn-out process. So I understand the work that is involved at a very high level, actually. But what I am trying to convey and what I'm going to continue to say, it has become a culture that if these things don't happen, it's destined to die. I've heard destined for dust. No, it wasn't. There were several suitors that we were dealing with then to take care of this very problem, city being one of them. Politically, some things went the wrong way and a couple things fell through. But there were always investors waiting at the door to buy that big building. That's the tallest building in northern Indiana. So we had it. We do attract it. So it's never that we're going to be, we're going to die if it doesn't happen, because it's going to happen. I just think that we have a lot more to offer is all I'm saying. And if we keep missing that, we're going to continue to miss out on opportunities, or feel like that we're going to miss out on opportunities. It creates a sense of desperation.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. Other council members, any comments? If not, we would like to entertain a motion for adoption for Resolution 21-39.
Move for adoption, please.
I second.
Clerk Jones, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember Warner, Councilmember Wax,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Tomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Hammond,
Aye.
President White,
Aye.
8 ayes.
Resolution 21-39 has been adopted. We'll now move to bills first readings. Thank you, Mr. Buckenmeyer. Clerk Jones, will you please give first reading to Bill 96-21?
9621, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, creating the American Rescue Plan Fund number 263.
I will entertain a motion to send this bill to Personnel and Finance Committee and set for public hearing for June 28.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Clerk Jones, will you please give first reading to Bill 97-21?
9721, first reading on an ordinance of the South Bend Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, creating the Professional Sports and Convention Development Area, PSCDA Fund number 413.
I would like to entertain a motion to send this Bill 97-21 to Personnel and Finance Standing Committee and public hearing for June 28.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion. It's been seconded. All council members who are in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Clerk Jones, will you please give first reading to Bill 98-21?
Excuse me. 9821, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending ordinance number 10752-20, which fixed maximum salaries and wages of appointed officers and non-bargaining employees of the City of South Bend for calendar year 2021 to establish 2 new full-time positions.
Would entertain a motion to send this to Personnel and Finance Committee and set for public hearing for June 28th.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. All council members who are in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote?
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Clerk Jones, will you please give first reading to Bill 99-21?
9921, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana for budget transfers for various departments within the City of South Bend, Indiana for the year 2021.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to send Bill 99-21 to Personnel and Finance Committee and set for public hearing for June 28th.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and it's been seconded. All council members who are in favor of the motion, may I hear your vote? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Clerk Jones, will you please give first reading to Bill 100-21?
121, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, appropriating additional funds for certain departmental and city services operations for the year 2021 of $1,016,000 from Parks and Recreation Fund, number 201. $344,380,000 from the Motor Vehicle Highway Fund, number 202. $588,177 from the Economic Development State Grant Fund, number 210. $34,092 from the DCI Operations Fund, number 211. $55,488 from the Gift Donation Bequest Fund, number 217. $65,000 from the Law Enforcement Continuing Education Fund, number 220. $23,862 from the Code Enforcement Fund, number 230. $100,000 from the Lloyd 2016 Special Distribution Fund, number 257. $500,000 from the American Rescue Plan Fund, number 263. $1 million from the COVID-19 Response Fund, number 264. $25,105 from the Local Road and Bridge Grant Fund, number 265. $646,763 from the IT Innovation 311 Call Center Fund, number 279. $57,118 from the COPS More Grant Fund, number 295. $200,000 from the Local Income Tax Certified Shares Fund, number 404. $494,290 from the Local Income Tax Economic Development Fund, number 408. $23,862 from the Consolidated Building Fund, number 600. $197,600 from the Sewer Repair Insurance Fund, number 640. And $868,162 from the Building Corporation Fund, number 755.
Thank you. Would like to entertain a motion to send this bill to Personnel and Finance Committee and for public hearing for June 28, 2021.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded. Everyone that is in support of the motion, may I hear your vote? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Clerk Jones, do you need to catch your breath?
I'm good.
Okay. Will you please give first reading to Bill 101-21?
101-21, first reading on an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of South Bend, Indiana, amending various sections of the South Bend Municipal Code within Chapter 16 at Articles 1 and 2, and within Chapter 17 at Article 2, Division 4, Article 4, Article 14, and Article 15 to provide a comprehensive adjustment to rates for South Bend utility customers in the city's furnishment of refuge, sewer, water, stormwater in the low-income customer assistance program.
Thank you. We'll entertain a motion to send this to Personnel and Finance. There is no date because there will be a number of meetings that will occur. And so the first action that we'll take from this council is just to send it to Personnel and Finance Committee.
Why
Councilwoman,
is this not in utilities? I'm just curious.
Councilmember.
In short, I didn't want it in my committee.
Okay.
I don't want this headache.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so there's not a time frame on this particular bill. Once it goes to Personnel and Finance Committee, I'm quite sure the chair and committee members will outline the level of discussions.
No, I didn't choose your committee, Troy. That was not my intention. I saw your face. I didn't say send it to Troy. I just said I don't want it. And so the president thought probably it should go into yours because it's probably more germane to your committee. You sure?
It's financial, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything we do is financial.
Actually, I looked in the history of some of similar bills, and they've either been in a joint committee or they've been in personnel and finance, so.
You don't have to worry about no, well, you got the ball, buddy.
We could do it.
Thank you for the wonderful
Do a joint committee,
discussion.
Henry, and
We
share the
do
word.
have a motion.
I move.
Okay,
Second.
thank you so much. We have a motion. It's been seconded. Council members who are in favor of the motion, might hear you vote.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. This has been a very intense meeting in terms of, not intense in regards to the level of discussion, but in regards to the number of bills and resolutions. And council members, you've done a wonderful job. I'm going to now move to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business?
Yeah,
Councilmember
going back
Davis.
to that, when I originally was talking about the Rules Committee, well, was that the rules? No,
No,
minutes,
WB.
the minutes, thank you, I'm sorry. We were discussing, there were 2 additions that were added to that particular bill now ordinance.
2 amendments that we,
Yeah, I think you offered those amendments.
I offered one.
You offer one? Okay, well, where I'm going with this is that there was a newspaper article and there was some more of the community discussion. I'm not going to get into any particulars about it, but I'm not sure if it was clarified or even in the language of that particular ordinance at this point about quarterly reporting.
Okay.
And so that needs to be clarified on what that is. Now, I'm not, I understand the council has the authority to call any committee, any department in here at any given time. I got that. That's what we do, and we are allowed that. That's our authority. But as far as that being in print, I'm not sure. And I think that needs to be clarified.
Okay.
But it should have been in print. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I'll add that to the list. I'll get with Councilwoman Morgan in terms, because this came through the community investment. And also we can go back, because I know there's been some discussions and we have received some emails as well. And so we'll follow up.
Could I just have a reply, quick
Mhm.
reply? I have record of what we discussed here in yellow, and there were no changes to that regards. In terms of quarterly report, there were changes to reports in the program plan, and that the common council would be presented with those changes. And so, but we had no discussion. Or
So that never
amendments
came up
on
at
the
all
quarterly
about reporting at
No.
all?
There's an annual report, and the annual report
No,
would
ma'am.
come
No,
to the-
ma'am. That's not what I'm asking. There was no,
I understand, but I'm answering your question. There was not a quarterly report. There was an annual report that would be coming to the council. So there was no discussion on quarterly report.
Okay.
At
I
that
think
time.
that's an area that I know some of us we've received emails or questions.
yeah, I was just looking for some clarification because I think we missed it. And so there was an article and then it was saying that department is not going to report at all. And so that was another, red flag or sound of the alarm.
We'll follow up.
Now,
Yeah, no, just to clarify, it's not reporting at all that there is an annual report, but the the IPC board receives updates on a monthly basis. And as you said, the council can receive updates anytime that we ask.
so are your updates filed with the clerk's office, or do you just get it because you're a member of the board?
Well, the board, like any boarding commission, gets updates. And
Yeah, I got
so
that, but
they're-
do you
they're
file
public.
that, do you file that information with the clerk's office, is what I asked.
The meeting is public. So,
Again,
and
is
the
it-
minutes are public.
The reason why I'm asking this is not because you don't know or I don't know or, whatever. When those things do happen, there usually is a conversation that the clerk's office have to have with the department thereafter, like, can you file it, please? Or it's always an afterthought. It's not immediately done. So that's why that there is a question. And
The
that's-
minutes are public.
No, ma'am, I'm just understand what I'm saying. When there was an issue last time, when this happened, there had to be a phone call upstairs to get it back downstairs so it can be filed appropriately, because it wasn't. So that's why I'm saying it. I'm not saying it to, nag or anything. That's what happened. That's what occurred.
I think we can probably follow up with that with the secretary of the board and the clerk's office to make sure that the minutes are properly filed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments? In regards to unfinished business, is there any other unfinished business at this time? And again, tomorrow, it'll be late tomorrow afternoon, won't be in the morning. I'll send a summary of the follow-up items that we've talked about so this far. Is there any new business? Councilwoman Hammond and Councilwoman Niskoski.
I have two items, just so it is on public record, and I know the notification has gone out, but we will be conducting 2 NACOL trainings for the council for the Community Police Review Board process. The public is invited. It is a virtual meeting on both Tuesday and Wednesday of the 15th and 16th, 3:30 to 5 p.m. And the public will be able to ask questions at the end of this meeting. Both of these will be under the Community Relations Committee. And secondly, I sent an email to the mayor as well as the 3 leadership members of the Common Council to begin a conversation around cooling centers that I anticipate will be needed in the city in light of the fact that the main library is still closed and they are predicting this being a hotter than normal summer for us. So it will be important that we identify where these cooling centers are and how those will be operated before it becomes an emergency situation. And I have heard back from all 3 of the council leadership, and they were very encouraging. So I thank you for that.
Here as well. Is there any other new business from Councilwoman Niskoski?
I just wanted to put out to that on June 24th at the Nature Center in Rum Village, they're going to be hosting a meeting there about traffic calming measures. It'll be a very informative meeting, and it'll give residents the opportunity to talk about traffic in their neighborhood. So I encourage anybody here that's in that neighborhood to please attend. Again, that's at the Nature Center on the 24th at 6 o'clock. And La Casa de Amistad is having the Equity in the Arts Forum from 6 to 7. Is it tomorrow or Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 16th, and at their new building on Michigan Street.
Thank you. Is there any other new business at this time? If not, we'll go to privilege of the floor. Clerk Jones, is there anyone waiting to speak under privilege of the floor?
Yes, there is.
Okay, I need to read this before.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to read the statement. Disrespectful, rude, or disruptive speech or actions will not be tolerated. Such speech and or actions, as well as verbal attacks on any person, may result in the individual without notice losing the remaining of his or her allotted time. Individuals who wish to address the council must first state their name and residential address Individuals will be limited to 3 minutes only. The maximum time for this portion of the meeting shall be 30 minutes, and Attorney Palmer will keep time. Clerk Jones?
Yes, we have two.
Yes.
We have CJ Wax and Drew Duncan so far. Mr. Wax, if you would unmute yourself and state your name and your address for the record, please. And then after Mr. Wax, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you.
Hello, this is CJ Wax. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. My name is CJ Wax. I reside at 620 Portage Avenue. I'd like to first acknowledge that this council has worked above and beyond tonight. This is quite an extensive agenda you're rocking, so I apologize for keeping you longer, but do appreciate your time. So I am here seeking your help in addressing the unsafe environment resulting from speeding traffic on Portage Avenue. I do appreciate and did take note of the traffic calming meeting on June 24th, but I would like to present a little more information on what your residents in District 1 are experiencing in Portage Avenue, in particular between the borders of Marion and Lamont Terrace streets. So I'm quite certain you're very well versed in the streets of your town, but for context, I would like to clarify that Portage Avenue is just west of Memorial Hospital, and it runs north and south. It's a 2-lane road extending from Western Avenue to State Road 12 in Michigan. It is a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour in my area, but most drivers at any given moment are far exceeding that limit. In fact, since moving into this neighborhood in September through last week, June 13th, my family alone has sustained five incidents of hit and run to our on-street parked vehicles. 3 of those incidents occurred last week alone. 2 vehicles, with one of them being hit twice in the same week. I'm sure you can empathize and understand our frustration. In speaking with my fellow neighbors, I was appalled to learn that I'm in all too good a company. Every one of them, some of whom have joined tonight as well, have suffered similarly. And it should be noted that this is a residential area, and we have a number of households who include young children. I apologize. Those are my 4-legged children you're hearing. Fortunately, while no one has been injured to date, this is a risk for our kids in this area. We tried various methods to try to mitigate this risk. We've parked in off-street garages or lots when they're available. Some residents do not have that as an option. We've parked in available side streets. I would note that there's not enough available open spots on those side streets to meet all of the demands of our neighborhoods. And it also, one of those collisions, the hit and run, was sustained to my son's car on a side street of Lamont Terrace. We park our vehicles.
I think you have how many more minutes? I mean,
am I exceeded?
Well, I'm checking with our attorney.
Yes.
Yes, you have. You can just become.
Lovely music.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are, but you can give a closing statement.
Thank you. So just to state, this has been very frustrating. It is, we're asking for this council's assistance in guiding us on what can be done to mitigate and manage it, whether it be installing speed bumps, cameras at the traffic lights, and implementing perhaps indented parking, parallel parking, much like we have in the East Bank Village. Bam, done.
Thank you so much. And we'd like to share with you at our next council meeting, which is June 28th, Mr. Eric Horvath, who's over Public Works, will be giving an update under our city offices, and that will be the early part of our meeting. So we'll make sure that you get that information as well. Thank you so much for staying with us.
Thank you. Sorry, I exceeded my time. Thank you.
We'll now move to Mr. Duncan, Drew Duncan.
Yes.
State your name and
Drew
address,
Duncan,
please.
Drew Duncan, 2103 High Street, South Bend, Indiana. A couple issues I'll try to address in the 3 minutes. One of which was an issue we addressed at the last council meeting, which was about 3 weeks ago. I spoke about the issues with the golf balls and the damage to people's properties on the High Street corridor. Since then, I have not heard anything back from a person from the council, a person from code enforcement, a person from the golf course. Nobody has said anything to us on the street as far as myself or the neighbors. But continuing, we're just trying to get an understanding around, what the city plans to do with this property that has this huge hole in the front of it. But second, I also, as a citizen, request that the city place a moratorium on fining its citizens for their grass and fines like that until the city can afford to cut all of its lots that belong to it. Again, I own a couple properties in South Bend. I'm passing properties that are owned by the city. I'm talking to people directly that are getting fined for their grass, but who gets to fine? The city. And due to the fact that the city has millions of dollars of resources to keep their lots cut, and we're asking little old ladies in 90-degree heat to go out and cut these things, I definitely think that there should be some type of moratorium on the fines, at least for grass growing and cutting, until the extreme heat stops. And especially, I will request that the city would stop until it can cut its own lots. But lastly, I would like some clarification around the new rule that has come to the council and the committee about the disrespect, about addressing council members. There seems to be, it's a very open-ended rule. And as a member of the public, I'd like clarity in writing from the council so that rule applies to every citizen equally. As we all witnessed tonight, Miss CJ Wax, which we're very happy that she stayed on the call and is just being an informed and engaged citizen. But she was able to go a minute over her time. While I've heard other people who may be mentioning voting records being stopped and muted, so that we could avoid this confusion or to look as if this is malicious from the council. I would suggest and request as a citizen that rule be provided in writing to some clarity as to what is deemed disrespectful. Is addressing a voting record in fact disrespectful? And if so, that's a separate conversation that we have to have. And just some general clarity around those rules and also so that we can apply them to people equally.
30 seconds, sir.
That's all my time.
Okay, Mr. Duncan, you still have 30 seconds if you like to use those 30 seconds.
Other than the fact that I would actually like somebody to reach out to me about the property damage coming from the city-owned property. I would love to see the grass cut that's now at 26 inches on 3 of the lots just within 100 feet of my home. I would just love to see the city be proactive in the things that they own and have responsibility to before they go out in somewhat of a predatory manner and fine people for these same offenses.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. We have a list of the questions with the concerns you've raised, and I apologize. I had this on my list to report back to you, and so again, it is my goal, as I said in this chair, when we come to privilege of the floor, is to summarize what citizens have asked for, but also to put that back in writing. Council members do get a copy of just a small update, just summarizing our discussion so that we will follow up. So I appreciate your feedback as well. If there's no, are there any additional individuals under privilege of the floor?
That actually exhausts our list.
If not, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, council members. It is now 10:15 and we got through the agenda, and I appreciate your attention, but also your willingness to really do the work that we've been elected to do. Have a great evening and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Oh.